Chapter 3666. In the Hidden Fog sect, core elders were also considered inner sect elders. However, ordinary inner sect elders didn't have a ranking. They were only called inner sect elders. Only the core elders of the inner sect had a ranking, such as the Great Elder, Second Elder, Third Elder, and so on. In the past, the person who came to Hidden Fog Academy to look for Duanling Tian and ask him to become his disciple was the disciple of the Hidden Fog sect's Second Elder. The Hidden Fog sect's inner sect Second Elder was a core elder with a relatively high status within the Hidden Fog sect. Of course, this didn't mean that the Second Elder was the strongest core elder. In the Hidden Fog sect, there were many core elders of the older generation who weren't listed in the elder ranking. But they weren't elders. Instead, they were respected as grand elders. I understand. Listening to Tang Chun's explanation, Duanling Tian nodded. He smiled and said, Elder Tang Chun, the truth is that you don't need to explain so much. I can understand. After all, in the eyes of the sect, compared to the Zhong family, I'm nothing. As he finished speaking, the corners of Duanling Tian's mouth seemed to curl into a wisp of self-ridicule. Duanling Tian, don't joke around. Tang Chun shook his head and said, just now that Zhong family members' attitude towards you changed. I am well aware that it wasn't because of me. There is someone behind you, right? As Tang Chun spoke, he looked deeply at Duanling Tian and asked with deep meaning. In order to extinguish Duanling Tian's anger, the Zhong family's second master Zhong heir didn't hesitate to kill his own son. Even a vicious tiger wouldn't eat its cubs. To be able to force someone to kill his own son, it could be seen how determined that person was, and that person was the Zhong family's second master Zhong heir. This also meant that in Zhong heir's eyes, Duanling Tian was someone that he and the Zhong family couldn't afford to offend. Otherwise, he wouldn't have done such a thing. And Duanling Tian's own strength definitely wasn't enough to make the Zhong family fear him. Thus, it wasn't difficult for Tang Chun to guess. There was someone behind Duanling Tian, someone who could make the Zhong family bow and lower their heads. In response to Tang Chun's question, Duanling Tian only smiled. However, this smile appeared to be unfathomable in Tang Chun's eyes, further confirming his guess. But, just now they really did want to kill you. Knowing that you have an extraordinary identity, they wanted to kill you. Tang Chun did not care much about Duanling Tian before this. Now he dared not neglect Duanling Tian, because he already knew that Duanling Tian had a powerful trump card behind him. It was a trump card that could force the Chong family to lower their heads and force the second son of the Chong family to kill his own son. Furthermore, he also knew that his actions earlier had chilled Duanling Tian's heart. Although Duanling Tian was still polite to him on the surface, he could sense that there was a sense of unfamiliarity between them. They were no longer as close as before. For this reason, he was trying to salvage his relationship with Duanling Tian. Regardless of the trump card behind Duanling Tian, since it could force the Chong family to compromise, it meant it was worth it for him to take the initiative to befriend Duanling Tian. They've set up a spirit formation outside the room. If I'm not mistaken, that spirit formation is used to block communication. At that time, they discovered I was only a higher deity, so they wanted to kill both of us in one fell swoop. That way, no matter how powerful the person behind you is, as long as they can't trace it back to them, they'll be fine. However, they didn't expect the person beside you to be me, Tang Chun. After I revealed my strength and cultivation base, they recognized me and opened the formation to ask for help. After all, the formation would prevent them from communicating with the outside world. Then the old master of the Chong family, Chong Tianqing, sent me a message asking me to show mercy. He even promised me some benefits. I'll give you half of the benefits when I get my hands on them. After all, to a certain extent, I owe half of the benefits to you. Tang Chun's words conveyed two meanings. It was because of him that Duanling Tian was able to survive. Otherwise, no matter how powerful his background was, he would have been assassinated by the Chong family. Apart from that, he was willing to share half of the benefits with Duanling Tian even though he could obtain some benefits from Chong Tianqing. It could be said that Tang Chun's actions were very sincere. You're right, Elder Tang Chun. How could Duanling Tian not understand Tang Chun's words? Duanling Tian will remember Elder Tang Chun's kindness for saving my life this time. I'll definitely repay you in the future. As for the benefits Chong Tianqing gave me, you can keep it for yourself. There's no need to give it to you, Elder Tang Chun. I believe that the great gift the Chong family will give me won't be inferior to what Chong Tianqing gave you. Duanling Tian smiled. Tang Chun wanted to persuade him some more, but he was rejected by Duanling Tian. In the end, he didn't insist. After all, he also felt the pain of giving away those things. Although he didn't feel that things had returned to how they were before, Duan Lingtian personally said that he remembered his kindness for saving his life and would repay him in the future. This allowed him to relax. At the very least, Duan Lingtian didn't resent him. In the future, when we reach the sect, I'll repair my relationship with him. Haste makes waste. If I continue now, I'll only go too far. Thinking of this, Tang Chun wasn't in a hurry to repair his relationship with Duan Lingtian for the rest of the journey. And as Duan Lingtian followed Tang Chun out of Skywind City and headed towards the Hidden Fog sect, the mansion of the Zhong clan was not calm either. Inside the Zhong family's ancestral hall, Zhong Kuchi's body was lying on a white bed, and 4 people were standing in front of the bed. They were none other than the Zhong family's second master, Zhong Heir, fourth master, Zhong Si, Zhong San, and the Zhong family's patriarch, Zhong Zhong. You died for the clan. The clan won't forget you. I'll arrange for your name to be inscribed in the clan's genealogical records. I'll mention that your death played a part in the clan's extermination, and that your death ensured the survival of the clan. Looking at Chong Kuchi's body lying on the white cloth bed, Chong Kuchi said word by word. His voice echoed in the completely sealed ancestral hall. Second brother, my condolences. Chong San put his arm around Chong Heir's shoulder and comforted him with a serious expression. Don't worry, third brother. I can handle it. For the sake of the legacy of the clan, Chier's sacrifice is worth it. Although Chong Heir said this, his voice was trembling violently because of the suppression. Second brother. Chong Kuchi looked back at Chong Heir and said, I've already activated the layers of formations outside the ancestral hall. No matter how big the commotion is, the people outside won't be able to detect it. You don't have to suppress yourself anymore. Vent your emotions appropriately. Almost at the same time, Zhong Heir's robe suddenly exploded. A turbulent divine power swept out, and in the blink of an eye, a gust of wind blew, causing all the decorations in the ancestral hall to sway. It was as if a gust of wind had swept through the ancestral hall. Then Chong Heir stepped out and collapsed in front of Chong Kuchi's white cloth bed, his eyes filled with bloodthirsty hatred. Our father is useless. I can't avenge you. Father is useless. Chong Heir continued to growl, his voice growing louder and louder, then gradually fading away. Chong Heir then put on a clean robe again, and his whole person returned to his previous appearance. His body no longer trembled from suppressing his emotions. He walked up to Chong Kuchi and squeezed out a smile. Big brother, don't worry, I'm fine. It's good that you're fine. Chong Kuchi placed a hand on Chong Heir's shoulder and nodded. We all believe that Chier can understand you. Even if Chier had a choice, I believe that he would have sacrificed himself for the sake of the family, Chong Kuchi said. Chong Heir smiled bitterly. Chong Heir laughed bitterly in his heart. He was very clear about his son. He was definitely not someone who would sacrifice himself for the family. If he had a choice, he would never commit suicide. That was why he had taken action personally. He was worried that if he was too late and his son begged for mercy, his heart would soften. Big brother, don't worry, I'm really fine. We can always have another son, but once the family is gone, we're all done for. Chong Heir forced a smile on his face and grinned. Big brother. Chong Heir then asked Chong Kuchi, that Duan Lingtian's second request is obviously to blackmail our Chong clan. What kind of gift should we prepare for him? When the word gift was mentioned, Chong Heir's face couldn't help but darken, his eyes flashing fiercely. It would have been fine if he had made a request, but he didn't. That's the most troublesome part. Zhong De said with a sigh, before coming to the ancestral shrine, I've spoken to the old master about this matter. The old master's intention is to give half of the divine stones in the clan to Duan Lingtian. Apart from that, we'll give half of the divine weapons, divine pills, divine fruits, and divine herbs to him as well. The patriarch also knows about the incident at the Zhou clan's auction. According to his speculation, that girl should be from an emperor-level faction. An emperor-level faction. Originally, when Chong Heir, and Chong Heir heard that they were going to give Duan Lingtian, they were all very reluctant as they felt that it was too much. However, when they realized that Duan Lingtian was backed by an emperor-level faction, they immediately gave up on the idea of giving Duan Lingtian compensation. Worldly possessions could be fought for if they were gone. But once the family was gone, everything would be gone. Big brother, I have no objections. Chong Heir was the first to express his opinion. I have no objections either. Chong Heir also expressed his opinion. As for Chong Heir, he also said, I believe in the patriarch's judgment. Old Heir, the patriarch wants me to tell you. After that Duan Lingtian goes to the Hidden Fog sect, he will further investigate Duan Lingtian's background. If Duan Lingtian really has a background that our Chong clan can't afford to provoke, then that's fine. But if he doesn't, then no matter how much he eats from our Chong clan, the patriarch will make him spit it out. Chong Er said to Chong Er. Chong Er's eyes flashed with a cold light. He coldly said, if he doesn't have such a background, I will kill him with my own hands. I will tear him to pieces and grind his bones to dust. Chapter 3667. On the way to the Hidden Fog Sect, Duan Lingtian confirmed with Tang Chun that the Hidden Fog Sect's next core disciple assessment would be held in half a year. If you enter the sect now, you will be an inner sect disciple. After becoming an inner sect disciple, you will enjoy all the treatment an inner sect disciple can enjoy. Tang Chun said to Duan Lingtian, normally, even if you have the Vice Sect Master's recommendation, you will have to wait until the core disciple assessment begins before you can enter the sect. But this time, the Vice Sect Master has recommended you twice in a row. The first time was to recommend you to become a core disciple of the sect. The second time was to recommend you to enter the sect ahead of time and become an inner sect disciple. After all, according to the sect's rules, after a student of the Hidden Fog Academy becomes a 10-star student, they will need to stay for a certain period of time before they can enter the sect. This is the first time the Vice Sect Master has recommended someone to enter the sect ahead of time since he became the Dean of Wind City's Hidden Fog Academy. And because it was the first time, the sect quickly agreed. If it was the second time, it wouldn't have gone so smoothly. After listening to Tang Chun, Duan Lingtian couldn't help but think of the Dean of Wind City's Hidden Fog Academy, Murong Suifeng. He never imagined that Murong Suifeng had done so much for him in secret. He didn't doubt Tang Chun's words. After all, he would be able to find out for himself when he arrived at the Hidden Fog Sect. There was no need for Tang Chun to lie. The sect's encampment is up ahead. Under Tang Chun's guidance, Duan Lingtian arrived at a mountainous forest. The deeper he went, the thicker the fog became and the more it blocked his line of sight. In the past, it was not like Duan Lingtian had never been to a sect or clan's estate that was covered by a formation. However, those sects and clans' estate only had a few layers of fog at most. But now, under Tang Chun's guidance, Duan Lingtian passed through dozens of layers of fog. Moreover, the fog became thicker and thicker. His visibility was less than 100 meters and his divine sense was restricted as soon as he extended it. It was clear that this fog was condensed by an array formation. We're here. It wasn't until he passed through the 99th level of fog that Duan Lingtian's eyes lit up with light. Tang Chun's voice also sounded out, telling Duan Lingtian that they had arrived at the Hidden Fog Sect station. Duan Lingtian looked over, and what entered his eyes was no longer lofty mountains and precipitous ridges, but a vast grassland instead. Moreover, on the grassland, there was an extremely enormous floating island that floated in the horizon, and it was like the gathering of celestial beings. The area of the floating island was very large. At first glance, Duan Lingtian felt that it was at least as large as 1,000 Skywind cities. There were buildings, natural mountain ridges and barren hills on the island. It was clear that this was the Hidden Fog Sect station. And outside the Hidden Fog Sect station, the floating island was surrounded by a layer of fog. The scenery within flashed in front of Duan Lingtian's eyes, faintly discernible. The 99 layers of fog I brought you through just now is the sect's protective array formation. If you aren't someone from the sect, it would be impossible to pass through those array formations so smoothly. Tang Chun said to Duan Lingtian, I have an inner sect elder status token on me so I can bring people in and out, but I can only bring 3 people in at most. And this is because I am an inner sect elder. If you are an outer sect elder or an inner sect disciple, you can only bring 1 person in. As for outer sect disciples, they don't have the qualifications to bring anyone in. They can only come in alone. Of course, core disciples have the same treatment as inner sect elders. They can bring 3 people in. If there are too many people, you can only notify the others in the sect and have them come out to help you. If you force your way in, you will trigger the attack of the sect's protective array formation. Anyone below the Divine Emperor realm will undoubtedly die. Even an ordinary Divine Emperor will be severely wounded. As Tang Chun spoke, Duan Lingtian realized just how terrifying the 99 layers of fog they passed through were. To be more accurate, it was how terrifying the Hidden Fog Sect's protective array formation was. Besides the sect's protective array formation outside, there is another sect's protective array formation within the sect. Look at the thin layer of fog around the sect station. It seems ordinary, but the truth is that it is the embodiment of the sect's protective array formation. Those who don't have an identity token can't enter this place. Although I can bring you through the outer sect's protective array formation, I cannot bring you through this array formation. If you want to pass through this array formation, you must obtain the permission of the sect's sect protection hall. Speaking of this, Tang Chun earnestly explained, the so-called sect protection hall is a hall that protects the sect, and that hall's duty is to protect the sect. The people in the sect protection hall are all diehard loyalists of the sect, or perhaps they are death warriors. As Tang Chun finished speaking, he vigilantly glanced around. Then he finished speaking with a sound transmission to Duan Lingtian. They are all people who have made heart demon blood oaths to pledge their loyalty to the sect. If they dare to betray the sect, only death awaits them. If outsiders wish to enter the sect, they must be personally led in by a high-level core elder or above. As for everyone else, they must obtain their permission before they can bring others in. As Tang Chun spoke to hear, Duan Lingtian gained a certain understanding of the Hidden Fog Sect's sect protection hall. The Hidden Fog Sect controls entry and exit very strictly. Duan Lingtian looked at Tang Chun. He smiled and said, "It can even be said that they are overly cautious. Did the Hidden Fog Sect suffer losses in the past because of this?" "It is said to be so, but as for the truth of the matter, I am not sure." Tang Chun nodded and then shook his head. "But the sect's measures are indeed stricter than those of other Divine Emperor-level influences. In fact, those Divine Emperor-level influences are not as strict as our sect in this aspect." Hearing Tang Chun say this, Duan Lingtian knew that the Hidden Fog Sect must have suffered losses in the past. However, Tang Chun actually didn't know the ins and outs of this matter. It seemed that the high-level figures of the Hidden Fog Sect weren't willing to mention this matter, so even an inner sect elder like Tang Chun didn't know. "Duan Lingdan, I have already contacted the people in the sect protection hall. Wait a moment, someone will come out to lead us in." Tang Chun said to Duan Lingtian, "Once you enter the sect and go through the procedures to become an inner sect disciple, you will be able to bring your identity token and freely enter the sect." Duan Lingtian nodded. Then the two of them waited here. After several dozen breaths of time, a figure flashed out from behind the mist on the floating island in front of them. After several transformations, the figure appeared like a ghost in front of Duan Lingtian and Tang Chun. This was a middle-aged man wearing a black robe. His face was grave and stern. His eyes were indifferent as he looked at Duan Lingtian and asked, "Elder Duan Lingdan, is this the Hidden Fog Academy's 10-star student you brought back?" "Yes." Tang Chun nodded. At the same time he introduced the newcomer to Duan Lingtian. "Duan Lingtian, this is the Sect Protection Hall's third Hall Master." At the same time he told Duan Lingtian that there were a total of 10 Hall Masters in the Sect Protection Hall, and each Hall Master had 100 Death-sworn subordinates. Of the 10 Hall Masters of the Sect Protection Hall, 2 were Divine Emperor powerhouses and the other 8 were outstanding Upper God Kings. As for the group of Death-sworn in the Sect Protection Hall, the weakest was a Lower God King. There are 1,000 God King level Death-sworn in the Sect Protection Hall? Thinking of this, Duan Lingtian was startled. After all, these were Death-sworn and not ordinary Hidden Fog Sect disciples. Third Hall Master. Duan Lingtian greeted the newcomer in a timely manner. But the newcomer didn't respond. He said indifferently, "Take out your Hidden Fog Academy's 10-star student identity token." Duan Lingtian withdrew his identity token when he heard this and passed it over to the other party. After the newcomer confirmed it, he nodded and stretched out his hand. An invisible force swept out and covered Duan Lingtian's body. "Don't resist. Otherwise you'll have to bear the consequences." As the indifferent voice sounded, Duan Lingtian relaxed his body. In the next moment he found himself being led through the Hidden Fog Sect's inner sect protection array and officially entered the Hidden Fog Sect's encampment. Tang Chun followed behind them. "Thank you, Third Hall Master." Tang Chun looked at the Third Palace Master of the Sect Protection Palace and thanked him. However, the Third Palace Master did not even look at Tang Chun as he turned around and left. In just a blink of an eye, he disappeared before Duan Lingtian and Tang Chun's eyes. The people of the Sect Protection Hall are indifferent by nature. You'll be fine once you get used to it. Tang Chun smiled at Duan Lingtian. Duan Lingtian nodded. "Let's go. I'll take you to handle the inner sect disciple entrance procedures." Tang Chun called out to Duan Lingtian and led Duan Lingtian to handle the Hidden Fog Sect's inner sect disciple entrance procedures. And with Tang Chun, an inner sect elder, personally leading the way, the procedures were very efficient. In less than an hour, everything was done. "Duan Lingtian, I still have some matters to attend to. I'll call someone over to take you to the inner sect disciples cultivation area." After handling the procedures, Tang Chun said to Duan Lingtian. Not long after he spoke, a figure appeared in front of Duan Lingtian. To be precise, it was a beautiful figure. This was a woman wearing a long red dress. She had a beautiful face. Although she couldn't compare to Duan Lingtian's two wives or Huano, she was still a rare beauty among ordinary women. Wuyan greets granduncle. After the woman appeared, she respectfully bowed to Tang Chun. But, from the corner of her eyes, she glanced at Duan Lingtian. There was a trace of surprise in the depths of her eyes. Ah! Wuyan, Grandmaster has other matters to attend to. I'll leave Duan Lingtian to you. Tang Chun smiled at the woman, his grandniece Tang Wuyan. Duan Lingtian just arrived. Show him the way. Tang Wuyan was a junior of the family behind Tang Chun. She was also the most outstanding junior after Tang Chun and the only one to enter the Hidden Fog sect's inner sect. As for the other juniors, even if they were men, the one who did the best was only an outer sect elder of the Hidden Fog sect. After speaking to Tang Wuyan, Tang Chun looked at Duan Lingtian. He smiled and said, Duan Lingtian, this is my grandniece Tang Wuyan. She is also an inner sect disciple. If you have any questions you can ask her. Next, she will take you to the inner sect disciples cultivation area. Chapter 3668. Wuyan, take good care of Duan Lingtian. If you neglect Duan Lingtian, I won't forgive you. After Tang Chun said this, he left. At the same time, when he left, the corners of his mouth lifted into a meaningful smile. He had asked his grandniece Tang Wuyan to come over on purpose. Did he really have something to do? Of course not. He just wanted to create an opportunity for his grandniece. When he left the Hidden Fog Academy and went to the Zhong family's restaurant to eat, he wanted to introduce his grandniece to Duan Lingtian. He was optimistic about Duan Lingtian's future and felt that Duan Lingtian would lead their Tang family to greater heights and further heights in the future. However, Duan Lingtian said that he already had a wife and children. Moreover, he clearly wasn't interested, so he didn't say anything. Later, when he saw the Zhong family's people humble themselves in front of Duan Lingtian, the Zhong family's second master, Zhong Heir, killed his own son in order to curry favor with Duan Lingtian. At that moment, he knew that his understanding of Duan Lingtian was like a drop in the ocean, not worth mentioning. Because of this, when he brought Duan Lingtian back to the Hidden Fog sect, he planned to matchmake Duan Lingtian and his grandniece, Tang Wuyan. He was very confident in his grandniece Tang Wuyan. In the Hidden Fog sect's inner sect, the number of female disciples was less than the number of male disciples, let alone outstanding female disciples. As for his grandniece Tang Wuyan, she was ranked in the top 3 among the younger generation of female disciples. Most importantly, his grandniece was very beautiful. She was publicly acknowledged as the #1 beauty in the inner sect, and many male inner sect disciples were jealous of her. There were even some core male disciples who came to his door, wanting to marry his grandniece. He naturally wanted his grandniece to marry a core disciple. This was because any core disciple of the Hidden Fog sect, as long as they didn't die prematurely, would have an excellent future. They would definitely be much better than him. But the problem was that his grandniece Tang Wuyan didn't like them. His grandniece Tang Wuyan was a strong and unyielding woman. At least he couldn't decide her life. Unless there was a man she liked, no one could force her to do anything. If she really had to be forced, she would rather die. Because of this, although Tang Chun wanted to find a good home for her and make the family behind her better, he also knew that he couldn't force this grandniece of his. It could be said that it had been a long time since he had arranged a blind date for his grandniece. This time, if not for the fact that Duan Lingtian was really outstanding, he would not have thought of introducing his grandniece to Duan Lingtian and matchmaking them. Smokeless, there's one thing that granduncle wants to make clear to you. Duan Lingtian told me himself that he has a wife and children. If you mind this, then just be friends with him. There's no need to try to get close to him. When Tang Chun left, he did not forget to remind Tang Wuyan. When Tang Wuyan heard Tang Chun's voice transmission, she didn't say anything. Tang Wuyan didn't like any man. Although the purple-clad young man in front of her was good-looking and had a good temperament, in this world where the strong were respected, this was not the most important thing. Tang Wuyan liked men who could conquer her in all aspects. If a man could make her fall in love, she wouldn't let him go even if he had many wives and children. In her eyes, it was normal for a powerful man to have many wives and concubines. As for whether she would be neglected after she got together with that man in the future, she was confident in herself. She was confident in her appearance and her strength. Tang Wuyan was not a vase. She believed that no matter how many women the man she liked had, she would be the one that her man couldn't live without. The other women were destined to be green leaves, complementing the fresh flower that was her. Come with me. Tang Huiyan glanced at the man in front of her indifferently and greeted him indifferently. Then she led the way. Duan Lingtian didn't react to this. He followed behind her calmly and didn't say a word along the way. However, he thought more highly of Tang Huiyan in his heart. He didn't even need to guess to know that Tang Huiyan's appearance here was Tang Chun's doing. Tang Chun had mentioned his grandniece when he wanted to introduce her to him. It must be this woman in front of him. If Tang Huiyan had approached him passionately, he would have looked down on her. Now, seeing that she was ignoring him, Duan Lingtian was secretly relieved. At the same time, he thought more highly of her. He really wasn't in the mood to deal with women who were throwing themselves at him. If there's anything you want to ask, you can ask me. Although Tang Huiyan wasn't so enthusiastic towards Duan Lingtian, she wasn't silent either. After walking for a while, she introduced the surrounding buildings to Duan Lingtian. These buildings were either a hall in the Hidden Fog sect that was in charge of a certain aspect or the residence of a core elder or inner sect elder. In the Hidden Fog sect station, the residence of the Hidden Fog sect's higher-ups wasn't gathered together. This was because the heaven and earth spirit energy in the entire Hidden Fog sect was the same no matter where they were. Therefore, the cultivation resources they could enjoy were the same no matter where they lived. This also led to the residences of the Hidden Fog sect's higher-ups being distributed in every corner of the Hidden Fog sect station. That's the second elder's residence. When Tang Huiyan brought Duan Lingtian over a spacious building that resembled a small palace, she introduced it to Duan Lingtian. Of course, this isn't just the second elder's residence. It is also where he cultivates. In fact, most of his disciples cultivate here. Duan Lingtian nodded. Then his heart stirred. He remembered that when he was still at Hidden Fog Academy, there was a person who claimed to be the disciple of the Hidden Fog sect's second elder. This person wanted him to become a disciple of the Hidden Fog sect's second elder, but Duan Lingtian refused. Then that person flew into a rage out of humiliation. He wanted to attack Duan Lingtian, but the person behind him stopped him in time. How many second elders are there in the Hidden Fog sect? Duan Lingtian subconsciously asked. Just one. Tang Huiyan said, within the Hidden Fog sect, there have always been a total of 19 core elders. The second elder is one of them. Of course, this doesn't mean that there are only 19 core elders. Apart from the 19 ranked core elders, there are some other core elders. They are grand elders in the sect, and their status is even higher than the 19 ranked core elders. At the very least, they are on par with the vice sect leader. Among the highest elders, there are a few who are even stronger than the sect master, and they are basically the sect master's elders. In addition, there are also 19 protectors in the sect. Their status is equal to the vice sect master and some highest elders. They are above the 19 core elders. After listening to Tang Huiyan, Duan Lingtian was almost certain that this small group of buildings surrounded by walls was the honorable master of the person who called himself Tu Feng. He was the Hidden Fog sect's second elder. Perhaps that Tu Feng also lived here. With our speed, we can reach the inner sect disciples' cultivation area in at most a quarter of an hour. Tang Huiyan said to Duan Lingtian. If they directly rushed to the inner sect disciples' cultivation area, it would only take a few dozen breaths of time. But now, they had to introduce some of the buildings to Duan Lingtian, so it would naturally take a lot of time. Thank you for your trouble. Duan Lingtian smiled and nodded. At the same time, the moment they moved, he glanced at the Hidden Fog sect's second elder's residence from the corner of his eye. A familiar figure stepped into the air and looked in his direction. It's not that Tu Feng. With just a glance, Duan Lingtian could tell that this person wasn't the aggressive Tu Feng of the past. He couldn't help but laugh at himself, feeling that he was being too sensitive. Then he continued to follow Tang Huiyan. And now the person who stepped into the air was indeed not Tu Feng. However, Duan Lingtian felt that this person was familiar. It wasn't because he was being too sensitive, but because this person had indeed appeared in front of him before. This person was the one who had followed Tu Feng to look for Duan Lingtian. The gray-robed youth standing behind Tu Feng was also Tu Feng's junior apprentice brother, another disciple of the Hidden Fog sect's second elder. That is, Duan Lingtian? A wisp of surprise flashed through the young man's eyes, and then he sent a message. Huang Li, send a message to Tang Huiyan and ask her who that young man behind her is? Well, don't tell her that I asked you to ask. Tell her that someone saw her with a young man in purple and told you. Huang Li was also an inner sect disciple of the Hidden Fog sect. She had a good relationship with him and was also on good terms with Tang Huiyan. Meng Xinghan, don't tell me you've also fallen for Huiyan? Huang Li teased. Otherwise, Why would you suddenly ask me to ask about this? You're thinking too much. I just feel that the purple-clothed youth behind her looks familiar. I want to confirm his identity. Hurry up and help me ask. I'll treat you to a meal later. Meng Xinghan was the fourth disciple of the Hidden Fog sect's second elder. He was also Tu Feng's junior apprentice brother. Meng Xinghan didn't wait long before he received Huang Li's message. Meng Xinghan, I've asked. The purple-clothed youth behind Wu Yin is a 10-star student from Win City's Hidden Fog Academy. He just reported to the sect today and became an inner sect disciple. I never thought that Vice Sect Master Morong would allow a 10-star student from Win City's Hidden Fog Academy to enter the sect in advance. It is said that Vice Sect Master Morong also recommended him to become a core disciple. In half a year he will participate in the core disciple assessment. You said he looked familiar, is it him? Huang Li asked. Thank you. Meng Xinghan thanked Huang Li and no longer paid attention to her. He stepped into the air and landed, but he didn't return to the building he came from. Instead he went to another building. Eldest senior apprentice brother, are you free now? Chapter 3669. Fourth junior brother, what's the matter? A figure stepped into the air from the building in front of Meng Xinghan and arrived in front of him in the blink of an eye. If Duan Tian was still here, he would definitely recognize this person at a glance. It was Tu Feng, the one who had gone to the Hidden Fog Academy to recruit him as a disciple of the Hidden Fog sect's second elder but was rejected by him. At that time, after he rejected him, Tu Feng showed a very unfriendly attitude. It was as if he couldn't wait for him to die before he entered the Hidden Fog sect. Eldest senior brother, do you remember that 10-star student from the Hidden Fog Academy, Duan Tian? He's Duan Tian, the person who became the strongest 10-star student in the Hidden Mist Academy as soon as he entered the academy. He even accumulated more than 120,000 points during the 10-star test. Not only did he break the Hidden Mist Academy's record, but he even surpassed the previous record by 3 times. Meng Xinghan asked. Although he and his senior brother, Tu Feng, had gone to the Hidden Fog Academy in Skywin City to look for Duan Tian before the 10-star student trial began, they were still shocked when they heard about Duan Tian's performance in the 10-star student trial in Skywin City. Moreover, according to their idea, that was the best opportunity for the God King level family to kill Duan Tian. But in the end, Duan Tian was still alive and well. Of course I remember. Tu Feng's eyes flashed. I heard from Master that Vice Sect Master Morong recommended him to enter the sect in advance and become an inner sect disciple. At the same time, he recommended him to participate in the core disciple assessment. I just didn't expect him to come so quickly. Although Tu Feng's tone was calm, the depths of his eyes flashed with a cold light, like a sword. Eldest senior brother. Meng Xinghan said with a dignified expression, that Duan Tian is now an inner sect disciple of our Hidden Fog Academy. Even if you are dissatisfied with his previous response, it's best not to act against him. You also know the rules of the sect. Meng Xinghan knew that this eldest senior brother of his was famous for having a violent temper, and he was deeply afraid that his eldest senior brother would come looking for Duan Tian to vent his anger once he was displeased. I know. Tu Feng replied impatiently, did you come to me just to remind me? Yes. Meng Xinghan smiled bitterly. He had come to look for his eldest senior brother not only to tell him that something unexpected had happened to Duan Tian, but also to remind him not to make a move against Duan Tian without permission. Once things got out of hand, perhaps even their master would not be able to save him. I'm not that stupid. Tu Feng disdainfully said, since that Duan Tian has come to the Hidden Fog sect, I, Tu Feng, have plenty of methods to deal with him. There is no need for me to personally act. Moreover, he isn't worthy of me personally acting. Although Tu Feng wasn't a core disciple of the Hidden Fog sect, he was still a relatively famous existence amongst the inner sect disciples. A part of the reason he was famous was because his master was the Hidden Fog sect's second elder. But a greater part of the reason was because of his strength. He was a God King powerhouse amongst the inner sect disciples. A lower divine king who was less than 10,000 years old was rare even among the inner sect disciples. That's good. Meng Xinghan relaxed as he heard this. All right. If there's nothing else, you should cultivate diligently and try to break through to the God King realm as soon as possible. Otherwise that Duan Tian will catch up to you soon. Tu Feng waved his hand at Meng Xinghan and then left by himself. He didn't return to his residence but instead went far away. Meng Xinghan looked at Tu Feng's departing back, a helpless look in his eyes. He knew that this eldest senior brother of his was definitely looking for someone to deal with Duan Lingtian. He understood his eldest senior brother's personality better than anyone else. He was the type that couldn't suffer any losses. Last time he had lost face because of Duan Lingtian, so he held a grudge against Duan Lingtian. He had always been unwilling to accept this. Before Duan Lingtian came to the Hidden Fog sect, things weren't so bad. It was difficult for him to deal with Duan Lingtian. But now that he was here, he naturally wouldn't miss any chance to deal with Duan Lingtian. I hope eldest senior brother won't make things worse. That Vice Sect Master Morong rarely places so much importance on a person. For him to recommend Duan Lingtian twice in a row shows just how much he values him. Meng Xinghan sighed and returned to his residence. He and Tu Feng were both disciples of the Hidden Fog sect's second elder. Their residence was in their honored master's residence. Duan Lingtian followed behind Tang Huiyin, following her all the way to the inner sect disciples' cultivation area. Along the way, Tang Huiyin patiently introduced and explained to Duan Lingtian. That is fourth elder's residence. Most of fourth elder's disciples also live in that place. The upper echelons of the sect basically let their family or disciples live under the same roof. This is more convenient for communication and also more convenient for teaching. The inner sect disciples that live in the inner sect disciples' cultivation area are basically all inner sect disciples that haven't joined any of the upper echelons of the sect. There are some inner sect disciples that the upper echelons want to accept as disciples. But they either think they already have an honored master and aren't willing to join anyone else, or they are arrogant and think that the person who wants to accept them as a disciple isn't qualified to be their honored master. Of course, there are even more inner sect disciples that don't have high status in the upper echelons because of their ordinary performance. As for the upper echelons of the sect, they are self-aware and know that the inner sect disciples might not take them seriously. Thus, they don't go and ask for humiliation. Speaking of this, Tang Huiyin glanced at Duan Lingtian and sighed, "You're Win City's Hidden Fog Academy's dean, who is also our Hidden Fog sect's vice sect master Morong? I don't think he mentioned accepting you as a disciple?" Duan Lingtian nodded. Indeed, Dean Morong Suifeng didn't mention accepting him as a disciple. Do you know why? Tang Huiyin looked deeply at Duan Lingtian and asked. Then, without waiting for Duan Lingtian to speak, she continued, "With your talent and comprehension, not to mention Vice Sect Master Morong, even many Grand Elders and Guardians who have the same status in the sect as Vice Sect Master Morong, or even higher Guardians, want to accept you as a disciple after your results in the 10-star trial at Win City's Hidden Fog Academy came out." What? Duan Lingtian asked. In fact, this was also what he was puzzled about. When he first met Morong Suifeng, he was already prepared for the possibility that Morong Suifeng wanted to accept him as a disciple. He also thought about how to refuse. But in the end, Morong Suifeng didn't say a word. At that time he was thinking, could it be that Morong Suifeng found out about his response when Tu Feng came to find him? However, based on what Tang Huiyin had just said, it didn't seem to be that simple. Vice sect leader Morong used to have a disciple whom he doted on very much. However, that disciple died prematurely in the end. After his disciple died, he swore that he wouldn't accept another disciple. Of course, he didn't swear a blood oath. Tang Huiyin continued, even if he didn't swear a blood oath, according to my granduncle, he wouldn't go back on his words. My granduncle knows Vice Sect Master Morong very well about this. Speaking of this, Tang Huiyin's eyes glinted with respect for Morong Suifeng. Then Tang Huiyin looked at Duan Lingtian and said, "Duan Lingdun, when the news of your arrival in the sect spreads out, I'm afraid many guardians and grand elders will want to accept you as a disciple. When the time comes, you have to think carefully about which guardian or grand elder you want to become a disciple of. However, my advice to you is, try your best to become a disciple of Wind City. That way you'll be better taken care of. After all, you're from Wind City." Tang Huiyin was Tang Chun's grandniece. Although she was not born in Wind City, Tang Chun had taken Wind City's side in the sect. Therefore, when she entered the sect, she was labeled as a member of the Wind City faction. If you join another sect, you'll naturally be taken care of. However, they might doubt your loyalty. After all, you're from Wind City. Of course, what I've given you is just a suggestion. It's up to you to make the final decision. In the end, Tang Huiyin added, I hope my words won't affect you. No matter what you choose, it's your freedom. The Wind City branch won't target you just because you joined another branch. After all, you're from the same sect. After hearing Tang Huiyin's words, Duan Lingtian smiled faintly. Thank you for the reminder. After crossing the mountains in front, We'll reach the inner sect disciples' cultivation grounds. Tang Huiyan led Duan Lingtian through a building and arrived in front of a mountain range. She looked at the towering mountains in front of them and spoke to Duan Lingtian. In the sect there are thousands of inner sect disciples. Among them only 10 to 20% are disciples of the upper echelons. Most of the inner sect disciples usually stay at the inner sect disciples' cultivation grounds. There are also some who go out to gain experience and haven't returned. There are also some older ones who are helping the sect manage some businesses outside. Usually, there are only 1,000 or so people who stay at the inner sect disciples' cultivation grounds. After Tang Huiyan finished speaking, she led Duan Lingtian over the mountains and arrived at a vast hilly area. In front of them was a hilly area. It was uneven and complicated. And in every corner of this hilly area, there were stone and wooden houses. Moreover, these stone and wooden houses were all different. They didn't look like they were built by the Hidden Fog sect specifically for inner sect disciples. The residences here are all built by the inner sect disciples themselves. The cobwebbed areas are unoccupied. You can clean them up and live there. You can also build your own house. Tang Huiyan said, as for the other things that inner sect disciples need to pay attention to, you can look through the memory jade slip that inner sect disciples receive when they go through the sect entrance procedures. You'll be able to understand it clearly. If there's anything you don't understand, you can also ask me. As Tang Huiyan spoke, she took out a soul bead and handed it to Duan Lingtian. Thank you. When Duan Lingtian received the soul bead, he also handed over his own soul bead. I'll have to trouble you today. If there's anything I can help you with, you can also look for me. Chapter 3670. Along the way, Tang Huiyan patiently introduced Duan Lingtian to him. Furthermore, other than the introductions, she did not talk about anything else with Duan Lingtian. Duan Lingtian could feel that Tang Huiyan was not interested in him. It was probably because of Elder Tang Chun's instructions. He heaved a sigh of relief and accepted Tang Huiyan's guidance. It's just a small matter. You don't have to take it to heart. Tang Huiyan smiled faintly but did not reach out to take Duan Lingtian's soul orb. It was as if she had no intention of contacting Duan Lingtian again. Keep it. You never know when you will come to me for help. Duan Lingtian smiled. He did not like to owe people favors. Although this journey was a piece of cake for Tang Huiyan, Duan Lingtian knew that most people would not trouble Tang Huiyan to personally lead the way. Along the way he could clearly feel the pride in Tang Huiyan's bones. She was one of the most prideful women he had ever met in his 2 lifetimes. Of course, he knew that Tang Huiyan was leading the way mostly because Elder Tang Chun wanted to matchmake them. However, he was not the only one who did not cooperate. Even Tang Huiyan, Tang Chun's grandniece, did not cooperate. All right. In the end, Tang Huiyan accepted Duan Lingtian's protection. However, it seemed that she had no choice but to do so. Duan Lingtian could not help but smile bitterly to himself. It was rare for him to personally give away his soul orb, but he was almost rejected? Then I'll leave first. Before Tang Huiyan left, she said to Duan Lingtian, quickly look through the memory jade slip that contains the inner sect disciples handbook that you obtained at the place where you went through the formalities earlier. That will help you avoid unnecessary mistakes. Okay. Duan Lingtian nodded in response before he watched Tang Huiyan leave. Only then did he turn around and descend to the hill where the inner sect disciples cultivated. After that, he found a stone house that was filled with cobwebs and chose it as his place to cultivate. Whoosh! Whoosh! Duan Lingtian casually waved his hand, and with the help of his divine power, a gust of wind raged. Immediately, the stone house that was originally covered in cobwebs was swept clean. Even the most stubborn of dust could not stop the wind caused by his divine power. After sweeping the stone house, he entered the stone house. At the same time, he took out a square disc array that he had just received from the place where he had gone through the formalities. This disc array was something that every inner sect disciple could receive. It was used to place in one's own training area. Not only could it prevent others from disturbing one's training, it could also protect oneself. The array formation set up by this array disc could only be broken by existences above the God King level. Even if it was broken, it would alert the inner sect elders who were in charge of the inner sect disciples' cultivation grounds. Once the inner sect elders were alerted, they would immediately rush to the location where the array disc was broken. Inner sect disciples' handbook. After sitting down on the stone bed, Duan Lingtian took out the memory jade slip that he had just received. He extended his divine sense and fused it with the jade slip. Immediately, a large amount of information flooded his mind. As for him, he carefully and earnestly read through it. This inner sect disciples handbook mainly introduced some very basic things. For instance, the rules of the hidden fog sect as well as some rules of the inner sect. Once one violated these rules, they would be punished. These were like the laws of Duan Lingtian's previous world. However, these laws only applied to the land of a country. As for the hidden fog sect's rules, they only applied to the hidden fog sect disciples and elders. There were many things recorded in the inner sect disciples handbook. Duan Lingtian spent several hours reading through it. At the same time, he gained a deeper understanding of the hidden fog sect. The hidden fog sect is only a divine emperor level sect, yet they are so rich and overbearing, an inner sect disciple can receive 10 divine stones every month, and there is no threshold. In addition, those who don't receive it this month can accumulate it until next month. Duan Lingtian couldn't help but sigh. Although he had more than 100,000 divine stones in his hands and didn't care about 10 divine stones a month, when he thought of the number of inner sect disciples in the Hidden Fog Academy, he couldn't help but feel his scalp tingle. In a month, the Hidden Fog Academy gave out tens of thousands of divine stones to the inner sect disciples. Just 1 month. Moreover, this didn't include the core disciples, outer sect disciples, inner sect elders, protectors, grand elders, and so on. However, the cultivation environment here is indeed better than the Hidden Fog Academies. In addition, every half a year, the inner sect disciples have a celestial stairway struggle. It is targeted at God Spirit level inner sect disciples and God King level inner sect disciples. Those who rank at the top will receive generous rewards. Moreover, the rewards are very practical for the participants. They can choose from many things, or ask for something of equal value. After carefully reading through the Hidden Fog Sect's semi-annual Celestial Stairway Struggle for the inner sect disciples, Duan Lingtian's eyes suddenly lit up. Now there is still half a year before the Hidden Fog Academy's core disciple assessment. Before that, I should still be able to participate in the Celestial Stairway Struggle. Thinking of this, Duan Lingtian impatiently left the stone house and walked out. Then he saw a figure flying out of a wooden house in the distance. He immediately went up and blocked the other party's path. What's the matter? His eyes flashed with a wisp of vigilance as he looked at Duan Lingtian. Hello. Duan Lingtian knew it was wrong to block the other party's path, so he was a little embarrassed. I just wanted to ask you, when is the next Celestial Stairway Struggle? Celestial Stairway Struggle? Now the person who was blocked by Duan Lingtian was a young man with a medium build. When he heard what Duan Lingtian said, he frowned. You're a new inner sect disciple that just entered the inner sect? In his opinion, even if he didn't know the inner sect disciples, he would at least have an impression of them. However, he didn't have any impression of the person in front of him. Of course, he couldn't be sure that the other party was a new inner sect disciple just based on this. He only thought so because Duan Lingtian asked about the time of the Celestial Stairway Struggle. Yes. Duan Lingtian nodded. The next Celestial Stairway Struggle will be in 4 months. The young man frowned impatiently. Now I've told you what you wanted to know. Can you move aside and stop blocking my path? Sorry. After all, he was in the wrong. Facing the other party's impatience, Duan Lingtian repeatedly apologized and moved aside. However, his mind had already completely shifted to the Celestial Stairway Struggle in 4 months. There are still 4 months. In these 4 months, I have to strive to become a higher god. If I can become a higher god, even if I snatch first place in the Celestial Stairway Struggle, I won't attract too much attention. Although Duan Lingtian was confident that he could seize first place in the Celestial Stairway Struggle with his middle god cultivation, he still felt that it would be too high profile. At that time, even the Hidden Fog sect master might be alarmed by him. In contrast, he would also attract jealousy and suspicion, leading to some unnecessary troubles. There might even be people who would try to kill him. After all, although a sect like the Hidden Fog sect was rich in cultivation resources, there was still a limit. If he took a share of the spoils, there would definitely be people who wouldn't be happy about it. He wasn't afraid of other inner sect disciples. But what if it was the elders behind them? On the surface, the elders behind them wouldn't dare to do anything to him, but what about behind their backs? If it's possible, it seems that I have to find a backer in the Hidden Fog sect. It's impossible to take them as my master. After all, I already have a master. It's impossible for me to take a second master. Thinking of this, Duan Lingtian couldn't help but have a headache. Forget it. I'll take it one step at a time. Duan Lingtian returned to the stone house and began to cultivate. He cultivated until someone disturbed him. Although this person didn't forcefully attack the array disk, it still woke him up from his cultivation. For a time, Duan Lingtian also awoke from his cultivation and walked out of the stone house. Outside the stone house, two figures stood side by side. One was a middle-aged man and the other was a young man. The middle-aged man wore a blue robe and had a handsome face. But there was a dark haze between his eyebrows, giving off a gloomy feeling. The young man wore a blue robe and had an ordinary appearance. At first glance he even seemed a bit dull. But his eyes were bright and spirited like a torch. "Are you looking for me?" Duan Lingtian looked at the two complete strangers in front of him and asked with a frown. "Are you new here?" The middle-aged man looked at Duan Lingtian and asked. "Is there something you need?" Duan Lingtian asked back. "This stone house is where my big brother cultivates. After a while he will return. Since you don't know anything, I won't bicker with you. You can move out." The middle-aged man lightly said. "Your big brother's cultivation place?" If he had just arrived and hadn't flipped through the Inner Sect Disciple Handbook, Duan Lingtian might have felt apologetic and moved out of the stone house. But now he didn't plan on leaving. This was because the Inner Sect Disciple Handbook clearly stated one point. Within the Inner Sect Disciple's cultivation place, as long as it is covered with cobwebs, anyone can use it. There is no such thing as seizing another's place. "That's right." The middle-aged man nodded. Then he impatiently said, "This stone house was built by my big brother himself. You're new here, so you should hurry up and move out." "Why should I?" Duan Lingtian looked deeply at the middle-aged man and asked again. Since the other party was an Inner Sect disciple of the Hidden Fog Sect, it was impossible for him to not know the rules of the Hidden Fog Sect. But now he actually disregarded the rules and acted recklessly. Moreover, he hadn't been here for long and the other party had already come looking for trouble. He had a feeling that things weren't as simple as they seemed. "What? You don't want to move?" The middle-aged man's expression turned cold and a cold light flashed in his eyes. "You are just a puny intermediate god. Do you want to compete with a higher god like me?" At this time, the seemingly dull youth beside the middle-aged man looked at Duan Lingtian with a mocking expression. The corners of his mouth curled up in a mocking smile. "Compete?" Duan Lingtian looked at the middle-aged man without a change in expression. He asked again, "Are you sure?" Chapter 3671. Facing Duan Lingtian's strength and unyielding attitude, coupled with the confidence in Duan Lingtian's eyes, the middle-aged man's heart trembled. Although he was an Inner Sect disciple and a higher deity at that, in truth, his strength could only be considered as the weakest among the higher deity-level Inner Sect disciples. Even some of the more powerful intermediate deity-level Inner Sect disciples could fight him to a draw. He wasn't a fool. Would someone who could become an Inner Sect disciple of the Hidden Fog Sect be so stupid as to seek a beating? How could an intermediate deity-level Inner Sect disciple be so confident in facing a higher deity-level Inner Sect disciple like him? "Who are you?" At this moment, not only did the middle-aged man have a little more fear in his eyes, but even the seemingly dull young man beside him also had a look of bewilderment in his eyes. At the same time he asked in a timely manner, "You don't know who I am and you dare to disturb my cultivation?" Duan Lingtian sneered, "The person who sent you to cause trouble for me, didn't tell you who I am?" Now even if he used his butt to think, Duan Lingtian could already guess who sent these two people to make things difficult for him. It had to be the disciple of the Hidden Fog Sect's second elder, Tu Feng, who he had rejected in the past. Or, did Tu Feng not tell you who I am? Duan Lingtian looked deeply at the two. In the next moment he saw their expressions change. They looked at Duan Lingtian as if they had seen a ghost. Although they hadn't been sent by Tu Feng, they had indeed come because of him. Tu Feng had been chatting with one of their senior brothers who usually acted as a follower. He had mentioned that he wanted to deal with an Inner Sect disciple who had just entered the sect and had asked their senior brother for help. They had privately discussed and decided to act first and report later. They would deal with that Inner Sect disciple first and then go to their senior brother and senior brother Tu Feng to ask for credit. At that time their senior brother and senior brother Tu Feng wouldn't be stingy. It was just that they had thought this matter was in the bag. They hadn't expected that the other party would be so calm when facing them, as if he didn't fear them at all. This made them feel uneasy. "My name is Duan Lingtian." Duan Lingtian looked at the two and grinned, a brilliant smile on his face. Duan Lingtian. Almost as soon as Duan Lingtian's voice fell, the two people's expressions changed again. You are Duan Lingtian? You're that 10-star student, Duan Lingtian from the Hidden Mist Academy in Skywind City? It was apparent both of them had heard of Duan Lingtian before. When they heard Duan Ling Tian's self-introduction, horror dawned on both of their faces. Their eyes and expressions were filled with panic. Duan Ling Tian, the monster from Skywind City's Hidden Fog Academy. Duan Lingtian's results in the 10-star student trial at Wine City's Hidden Mist Academy had long spread throughout the Hidden Mist sect. Even they had heard of it. At the same time, they also knew that the Hidden Mist Academy had a new student. He was less than 3,000 years old, but his cultivation was at the intermediate god level. Moreover, he had comprehended one of the 4 supreme laws, the fusion of 3 profound meanings of the space law. It had to be known that even they had only comprehended 2 or 3 types of dual profound meanings of the law they were proficient in. Moreover, they were much older than Duan Lingtian. They knew that although they were all higher god level, if they really fought, they might not be Duan Lingtian's match. Even if they joined forces, they might only be able to fight Duan Lingtian to a draw at most. However, such an existence would definitely go further than them in the future. Now they had offended him. Even if they joined forces, they could deal with him, but what about in the future? As long as he didn't die prematurely, they would be crushed sooner or later. When that time came, it would be their unlucky days. Moreover, as long as they stayed in the Hidden Mist sect, the gap between them and Duan Lingtian would only grow bigger and bigger. We were too naive. Thinking about it, how could a person who could make Senior Brother Tu Feng personally find trouble with Senior Brother Qi as an ordinary inner sect disciple? We can only blame ourselves for not hearing Senior Brother Tu Feng say Duan Lingtian's name. The two looked at each other and saw regret in each other's eyes. They really regretted taking the lead and finding trouble with Duan Lingtian. If they had known it was Duan Lingtian, they wouldn't have come even if they had 10 times the courage. I am indeed from Wind City's Hidden Mist Academy. Duan Lingtian nodded and then looked at the middle-aged man. You just said that I wanted to compete with you? Now I will answer you, yes. I want to compete with you. When Duan Lingtian's lips curved up in a faint smile, the middle-aged man hurriedly waved his hand. At the same time, his face turned bitter and he helplessly said, Junior Brother Duan, I was just joking with you. Please don't take it seriously, please don't take it seriously. In the inner sect disciples' cultivation area, as long as there are spider webs everywhere, anyone can live in it. The stone house you live in, no matter who it used to be, is now empty. If you live in it, no one will be able to snatch it from you. The middle-aged man said. Is that so? Duan Lingtian looked deeply at the middle-aged man. Yes, yes. The middle-aged man was so anxious that he was about to cry. At the same time, he hurriedly looked at the young man beside him. Hurry up and testify for me. Junior Brother Duan, that is indeed the case. We were just joking with you. At this moment, the young man who had originally looked dull, was no longer dull at all. He hurriedly opened his mouth to explain. I don't think you're joking. Duan Lingtian's eyes turned even deeper. Tell me the truth. If you tell me the truth, I won't hold it against you. This time, both of them looked at each other before they looked at Duan Lingtian in unison. They transmitted their voices to Duan Lingtian and explained everything that had happened. Junior Brother Duan, I was foolish. I shouldn't have looked for trouble with you. Junior Brother Duan, you have to be careful of Senior Brother Qiyu. Among the inner sect disciples at the Divine Spirit Realm, his strength can be ranked in the top 10. He has comprehended the fusion of 3 profundities from the law of wind. Under Duan Lingtian's enticement, both of them revealed everything. They said what they should and should not say. Qiyu? He has comprehended the fusion of 3 profundities from the law of wind? Duan Lingtian narrowed his eyes slightly. He was puzzled earlier. Even if Tu Feng wanted to look for trouble with him, he wouldn't look for cowards like these two. As it turned out, these 2 cowards had taken the initiative to look for trouble with him in order to curry favor with Qiyu and Tu Feng. Junior Brother Duan, if there's nothing else, we'll take our leave first. Sorry for disturbing you earlier. When Duan Lingtian narrowed his eyes, the 2 of them bade farewell to each other before they fled without waiting for Duan Lingtian's reply. Duan Lingtian was stunned when he saw this. Am I that scary? Duan Lingtian shook his head and returned to the stone house to continue cultivating. His goal was to break through and become a higher deity as soon as possible. That way, even if he performed better in the Heavenly Stairway battle, it wouldn't be too shocking. At the same time, he wouldn't attract too much attention. There are still several months before the Heavenly Stairway battle begins. If nothing unexpected happens, I should be able to make a breakthrough. After all, I haven't completely absorbed the medicinal efficacy of the dragon-marked divine grass yet. This time, Duan Lingtian was completely immersed in cultivation. He even activated all the array formations on the square array disk he received. Even if there was a commotion outside, as long as it wasn't too big, it wouldn't be enough to wake him up. And if there was a big commotion, it would be attacking the array disk. He didn't think that anyone would dare attack his square array disk. The consequences of attacking the array disk were something that even God King level inner sect disciples like Tu Feng wouldn't be able to bear, let alone those God Spirit level inner sect disciples. In the Hidden Fog sect, it was a great crime to disturb a fellow disciple who was in seclusion. After all, in such a situation, it was very likely that the fellow disciple would suffer from cultivation deviation. If light, they would be seriously injured, and if heavy, they would die. Because of this, Duan Lingtian didn't wake up for the next few months. However, although he didn't wake up, he still arranged a small array formation to wake him up at a specific time. It was similar to the alarm clock on Earth in his previous life. And this small array formation was something he learned after coming to the Hidden Fog Academy. In the last month of his stay at the Hidden Fog Academy, besides cultivating, he also read many memory jade slips in the Hidden Fog Academy's library. Among them there were some practical small array formation jade slips. It was easy to arrange a small array formation. As long as one was willing to put in some effort, they could learn how to arrange it. Hua hua hua, Duan Lingtian, who was wholeheartedly immersed in cultivation, completely forgot about the time. He wholeheartedly digested the medicinal efficacy of the dragon-marked divine grass in his body and tried to break through to the higher god level. Only when he was awakened by the sound did he stop cultivating. It's time? Duan Lingtian was woken up by the little formation that resembled an alarm clock that he had set up. The time he had set up was the morning of the heavenly stairway battle among the inner sect disciples. He did not set an earlier time. In other words, he didn't have time to continue cultivating. I'm just one step away. Thinking of his cultivation progress before he was awakened, Duan Lingtian felt helpless. If he hadn't been awakened with his cultivation progress, it would have taken him a few days at most to break through the final bottleneck and become a higher god. But now he was interrupted. Even if he continued cultivating, he probably wouldn't have the chance in a short period of time. After all, many things required a spurt of energy. Whoosh! Duan Lingtian put away the array formation disc and flashed out of the stone house. He could see many people walking out of their residences and heading in the same direction. However, some of the people who saw him coming out looked at him with strange gazes. Oh. Sensing these people's gazes, Duan Lingtian couldn't help but be stunned. He couldn't help but feel puzzled. Just as he was feeling puzzled, a message came at the right time. Duan Lingtian, you're finally out. This message came from Tang Huiyin, the grandniece of inner sect elder Tang Chun. During this period of time, Duan Lingtian was in seclusion. All the arrays in the array formation disk that he activated included an isolation array formation for communication. Therefore, no matter what messages were sent from the outside, Duan Lingtian couldn't receive them. Chapter 3672. What's wrong? Is something the matter? Duan Lingtian was not surprised that Tang Huiyin knew he had come out. After all, many inner sect disciples had seen him come out. Among them there must be some who knew Tang Huiyin. He needed to send a message to Tang Huiyin, and Tang Huiyin would know he had come out. Book/web 3 months ago, Qiyu, who's ranked in the top 10 among the godly spirit stage inner sect disciples, challenged you, but you didn't respond. 2 months ago he challenged you again, but you still didn't respond. A month ago he challenged you again, but you still didn't respond, Tang Huiyin said. Many people think you don't have the guts to accept the challenge. Of course, there are also some people who think you're in closed-door cultivation. That's why you didn't respond. After all, if you're in closed-door cultivation, you won't be able to receive messages. However, it seems like someone's deliberately trying to make people think you're afraid of Qiyu and don't dare to accept the challenge, Duan Lingtian, Tang Huiyin said. Tang Huiyin advised, Duan Lingtian, no matter what those people think, you don't have to care. Don't be affected by them. Just be yourself. Don't worry. Duan Lingtian could tell Tang Huiyin was worried he would be affected by this matter. He could not help but feel speechless. Duan Lingtian had walked step by step from the mundane realm to the Devata realm, and then to the realms of gods. How could he be affected by such a small matter? All right. Although Duan Lingtian's reply was simple, Tang Huiyin could hear the indifference in his tone. She knew Duan Lingtian was not bothered by the rumors. The heavenly stairway battle will begin in a month from today onward. Are you interested in going to watch the show? Or do you want to give it a try? Tang Huiyin asked. I'm going to give it a try, Duan Lingtian replied. I hope you can do well, Tang Huiyan said. Tang Huiyan wished him well. After Duan Lingtian thanked her, she fell silent. She didn't say whether she would go or not. However, it didn't matter to Duan Lingtian whether Tang Huiyan would go or not. He didn't even think about it. He glanced at where the group of inner sect disciples were heading and followed them. Needless to say, they were definitely going to the Stairway to Heaven competition. This was because the Celestial Stairway competition was a grand occasion for the inner sect disciples. Many of them hoped to get a good result in the Celestial Stairway competition. Fighting for the rewards was secondary. Showing off was the most important. On the way, Duan Lingtian's mind was filled with information. In the inner sect disciples' handbook, there was a detailed record of the Stairway to Heaven competition. The Celestial Stairway battle sounded like one had to climb up the Celestial Stairway. However, in reality it wasn't that simple. The Stairway to Heaven competition was a test left behind by the Hidden Fog sect's ancestors. When it first appeared, it was to train the sect disciples. But later on, it gradually became a place for the inner sect disciples to compete with each other. And this sort of competition was something that the Hidden Fog sect was happy to see happen. In fact, they even actively promoted it. They prepared extraordinary rewards for every Celestial Stairway competition. In particular, the first place of every Celestial Stairway competition would receive a reward that made others green with envy. This time it was the same. In this Stairway to Heaven competition, it is said that the first place of the Divine Spirit realm will be rewarded with a nature pill. As for the first place of the Divine King realm, it is said that the first place will be rewarded with a royal calamity fruit. Along the way, Duan Lingtian could hear the voices of the inner sect disciples who were also traveling nearby. Of course, they were talking to their companions and not to Duan Lingtian. But with Duan Lingtian's hearing, he heard everything clearly. Nature pill? Hearing this inner sect disciple's words, Duan Lingtian was startled. He never imagined that the Hidden Fog sect would give out a nature pill to the first place of the Stairway to Heaven competition. The nature pill was a divine pill used by gods. It had no effect on those above the Divine King realm. One could become a Divine King after 9 nature pills. This was also the introduction of the nature pill in the plane of gods. No matter how lousy a higher deity's innate talent was, after taking 9 origins pills, they would still be able to become a god king with a 100% chance of becoming one. As for those with good innate talent, the origins pill was also a great help in becoming a god king. It was said that there were heaven-defying talents that could take 9 nature pills on the day they broke through to the higher divine spirit realm, becoming a lower divine king on the same day. 2 realms in one day. And this sort of case wasn't rare in the plane of gods. Not to mention that God Venerable level influences raised their juniors in this way, even God Emperor level influences would raise the proud sons of heaven with monstrous talent and perception. It was just that very few people received such treatment. For this reason, one could easily imagine the value of a nature pill to a god. The first place in the Heavenly Stairway contest will be rewarded with a nature pill, while the first place in the Divine King realm will be rewarded with a tribulation immunity fruit. Duan Lingtian knew about the nature pill. He had also heard of the tribulation immunity fruit. Unlike the nature pill that was refined by a divine alchemist using various rare medicinal herbs, the tribulation immunity fruit was a divine fruit that was naturally nourished by heaven and earth. After consuming it, it had no effect on one's cultivation base. However, it could help a divine king withstand the heavenly tribulation. Whether it was in the realms of gods, the Devata realms, or even the mundane realms, those above the Divine King realm would have to face the heavenly tribulation. Once one entered the Divine King realm, one would have to face a heavenly tribulation every 1,000 years. Moreover, the heavenly tribulation would become stronger and stronger. If one's strength could not keep up with the heavenly tribulation, there was only one outcome for one. One would be killed by the heavenly tribulation and die. It was also precisely because existences above the God King level had to face heavenly tribulations that kept getting stronger and stronger that many higher deities both yearned for and feared the God King level. It was to the extent that some people who had set their sights on becoming a God King would develop inner demons and be unable to break through for a very long time. If one didn't break through to the Divine King realm and remained at the higher deity realm, one could still live as long as the heavens and earth. It was just that one's strength would be weaker. But once one broke through to the Divine King realm, they would embark on a path of no return. One would either have to face a heavenly tribulation every 1,000 years or die in a heavenly tribulation every 1,000 years, completely vanishing from this world. And the tribulation immunity fruit was a divine fruit that could help a divine king resist a heavenly tribulation. After eating it, one could fuse with their divine power and form a barrier around them. It had a certain effect on resisting the heavenly tribulation. Of course, this was only a certain effect. It couldn't completely help a person resist the heavenly tribulation. Even so, it could still increase the chances of successfully crossing the heavenly tribulation. If one originally only had a 50% chance of crossing the heavenly tribulation, after eating the tribulation immunity fruit, their chances would rise to 80%. The Hidden Fog sect is truly generous. Duan Lingtian couldn't help but sigh at the Hidden Fog sect's generosity. Was this the background of a divine emperor-level influence? Young Master Duan. Suddenly, a voice sounded out from behind Duan Lingtian. At first, because the voice was unfamiliar, Duan Lingtian didn't think it was him. It wasn't until the owner of the voice sped up and arrived in front of him that he came to a stop. You are. Duan Lingtian looked at the person in front of him. This person was a middle-aged man. He was tall and his face was firm. His eyebrows were sharp, but as he looked at Duan Lingtian, there was a faint trace of fear in the depths of his eyes. Young Master Duan, my name is Chong Tiannu. I am a junior of the Chong family. The middle-aged man introduced himself. In truth, Chong Tiannu was not only a junior of the Chong family, but he was also the adopted son of the Chong family's patriarch. The bloodline of the Chong family didn't flow through his veins. He was a foster son that Patriarch Chong had adopted outside. He had been brainwashed by the Chong family since he was a child and was loyal to them. And most importantly, when Chong Tiannu was a teenager, he had been induced by Patriarch Chong to make a heart demon blood oath to be loyal to the Chong family. He would never betray the Chong family and would never harm the interests of the Chong family. Because of this, although Chong Tiannu was only the adopted son of the Chong family's Patriarch Chong, he was highly valued by him. Because of this, Duan Lingtian had asked Chong Tiannu to give the second thing that he wanted to the second master of the Chong family. Patriarch Chong Tiannu had asked him to give it to Duan Lingtian. However, in recent months, Duan Lingtian had been in seclusion. Therefore, Chong Tiannu couldn't give it to Duan Lingtian even if he wanted to. Today was the day that the Stairway to Heaven contest would begin. He guessed that Duan Lingtian would join in the fun. Sure enough, when he went out today, he found that Duan Lingtian had left his residence. He hurriedly chased after him and planned to give the thing to Duan Lingtian. Young Master Duan, I'm looking for you to give you the thing that my adoptive father gave you. Adoptive father? Duan Lingtian was stunned. He didn't know the relationship between Chong Tiannu and the patriarch of the Chong family. My adoptive father is the patriarch of the Chong family. Patriarch Chong, Chong Tiannu said. At the same time, he took out a spatial ring from his spatial ring and passed it to Duan Lingtian. Young Master Duan, the thing that my adoptive father gave you is in this spatial ring. Patriarch Chong was the patriarch of the Chong family. Duan Lingtian knew about this. Therefore, he calmly took the spatial ring that Chong Tiannu passed to him and dripped his blood on it in front of Chong Tiannu. With just a thought, the space in the spatial ring appeared before his eyes. The things that were stored in the spatial ring caused his breathing to stagnate. Although he was mentally prepared, everything in front of him still made his heart skip a beat. What entered his eyes was a mountain of divine stones. Apart from that, there were various rare materials that Duan Lingtian had only heard of but had never seen before. There were also divine fruits, divine herbs and some elixir bottles. Every elixir bottle was engraved with words that explained what kind of elixir was inside. Revival elixir? Soon, Duan Lingtian saw the words revival elixir on one of the elixir bottles. This caused his breathing to stagnate. The revival elixir was the Hidden Fog sect's reward for first place in the Stairway to Heaven competition. However, the Hidden Fog sect's reward was a revival elixir. How many are there? Holding his breath, Duan Lingtian opened the pill bottle that contained the creation pills with just a thought. At the same time, his divine consciousness swept into the bottle and shrouded the pills stored inside. 1, 2, 3. Lingtian, War Sovereign. Chapter 3673. Revival Good Fortune Pill. 9 Good Fortune Pills to Become a King. When Duan Lingtian learned that the Hidden Fog sect was giving out a Revival Good Fortune Pill as a reward for the first-place disciple in the Celestial Stairway competition, he was tempted. In fact, he was already weighing the pros and cons. After all, the current him was only a middle god. Although he was confident he could compete for first place in the Celestial Stairway competition, if he won first place with a middle god cultivation, it would undoubtedly be too high profile. In a god-emperor level force like the Hidden Fog sect, There were many God Spirit Realm inner sect disciples who had comprehended 3 profound meanings of some law. Moreover, their cultivation was at the upper God Spirit Realm. If he suppressed these people with a middle God Spirit Realm cultivation, what would others think of him? And now, the Zhong family had given him a pile of things according to his second request. In addition to a large number of Godstones and other things, there was also a revival good fortune pill. Moreover, it wasn't worth 5. A total of 5 revival good fortune pills lay quietly in the pill bottle. This caused Duan Lingtian to be excited for a while before he gradually calmed down. At the same time, he was no longer so obsessed with first place in this celestial stairway competition. It was just 1 revival good fortune pill. Now he had a total of 5 revival good fortune pills in his hands. I never thought the Zhong family would have such a background that they could take out 5 revival good fortune pills. Duan Lingtian couldn't help but sigh inwardly. At the same time, he also felt the Zhong family's sincerity. In addition to these 5 revival good fortune pills, there were other divine pills as well as a large pile of God stones. Although Duan Lingtian didn't count the pile of God stones, he could see at a glance that there were at least 1,000,000 God stones. A God King level family like the Zhong family, the number of God stones they have is at most 1 or 2 million God stones. I'm afraid this is almost half of the Zhong family's God stones. Duan Lingtian thought to himself. There are also revival good fortune pills. The Zhong family took out 5. Why not 1? 2. They are probably worried that I will find out in the future that they have so many revival good fortune pills but only gave me 1. That would anger me again? Thinking of this, Duan Lingtian felt relieved. At the same time, he couldn't help but sigh at the great courage of the Zhong family's patriarch. Although they had never met before, he really admired that person. Young Master Duan. At this moment, Chong Tianyu asked respectfully, my foster father said that after you've seen the things in the spatial ring, he wanted me to ask you, are you satisfied with our Chong clan's sincerity? I'm satisfied. Duan Lingtian nodded. At the same time, a shrewd light flashed across his eyes. He thought to himself, I was going to exterminate the Zhong family, but since the head of the Zhong family is so sincere, I will only kill those who tried to kill me in the past. Let go of the Zhong family completely? Duan Lingtian had never thought of such a thing. After all, some people from the Chong family wanted to kill him. Although the instigator, Chong Keki, was dead, the others who participated in or planned to kill him were still alive and well. Those people, when he had enough strength in the future, he would not let any of them off. Many thanks, young Master Duan. Hearing Duan Lingtian's reply, Chong Tianyu heaved a sigh of relief. At the same time, he automatically stepped aside and no longer blocked Duan Lingtian's path. When Chong Tianyu sent a message to his foster father, the Zhong family's patriarch, Duan Lingtian continued to walk towards the stairway to heaven under the gazes of many inner sect disciples. Who is he? A newcomer? I've never seen him before. To be able to make Chong Tianyu so respectful. I'm afraid this person's background is not simple. Many people looked at Duan Lingtian's back as they discussed. You don't know him? At this moment, someone who knew Duan Lingtian's identity stepped forward. Don't tell me you haven't heard that senior brother Qiyu has been challenging a new disciple every other month? Qiyu was one of the top 10 inner sect disciples in the Spirit God realm. In the Hidden Fog Academy's inner sect, or even the entire Hidden Fog Academy, he was an influential figure. He is that Duan Lingtian from Wind City's Hidden Fog Academy? As soon as someone mentioned Qiyu's challenge, some people immediately reacted and exclaimed in surprise. Duan Lingtian? The one who Vice Sect Master Murong recommended to enter the sect early? It is said that his strength and talent are both amazing. He is less than 3,000 years old and is already a medium god. Moreover, he has comprehended the fusion of 3 profound meanings of the law that he is proficient in. In the Hidden Fog sect, many people had heard of Duan Lingtian. Moreover, it is said that the law that he is proficient in is one of the 4 supreme laws, the law of space. If I remember correctly, there has never been a disciple under 4,000 years old who has comprehended the fusion of 3 profound meanings of any of the 4 supreme laws. This Duan Lingtian is indeed a monster. It is said that he will participate in the core disciple assessment soon. Vice Sect Master Murong has personally recommended him to become a core disciple. Even for us Hidden Fog sect inner sect disciples, not everyone has the qualifications to participate in the core disciple assessment. I never imagined that Vice Sect Master Murong would give him such an opportunity. It has to be known that Vice Sect Master Murong only has a limited number of recommendations for inner sect disciples to participate in the core disciple assessment. As for the discussions that followed, although Duan Lingtian was far away, he could still hear them clearly. Even the dean only has a limited number of recommendations for inner sect disciples to participate in the core disciple assessment. This was something that Duan Lingtian had just learned. He originally thought that in the Hidden Fog sect, any inner sect disciple could participate in the core disciple assessment as they wished. He never imagined that they would need a recommendation. We're here? Unknowingly, Duan Lingtian discovered that the person in front of him had stopped. At the same time, he also saw a somewhat illusory staircase floating in the air not too far away. At the same time, Duan Lingtian saw someone standing in front of the illusory staircase. After receiving a token from an expressionless old man, that person flew up the staircase. And in the next moment that person was submerged in the staircase. The first step of the staircase flashed, turning into a small dot of light. Then Duan Lingtian saw that on the third step of the staircase, a small dot of light disappeared into thin air. Then, a figure appeared in front of everyone as if that person had come from the staircase. Ah! Wujun, you still couldn't pass the third step and step onto the fourth step. You lost. Not too far away from Duan Lingtian, a youth laughed as he saw the person who came out. As for the latter, after passing the token to the old man, he arrived in front of the youth. With a gloomy expression, he took out a pile of divine stones and tossed them to the youth. Don't be too proud of yourself. If you can't reach the fourth step, you will still have to return these divine stones to me. Ah! I will definitely reach the fourth step. The former smiled and took a token from the old man. Then he jumped into the illusory staircase and disappeared. Instead he was replaced by a small dot of light on the first step. At the same time, Duan Lingtian also saw that a small dot of light on the first step had jumped up to the second step. Then, another small dot of light on the first step had jumped up to the second step. Are they going to enter the formation? Seeing this, Duan Lingtian secretly guessed. At the same time, he could not help but extend his divine consciousness. However, he found that it was blocked by a force and could not penetrate it at all. Duan Lingtian. Just as Duan Lingtian was puzzled, a beautiful figure quietly appeared beside Duan Lingtian and called out to him. Before Duan Lingtian could react, there was a burst of low voices around him. It's Tang Wuyin. In terms of strength, Tang Wuyin could only be ranked in the top 3 among the female inner sect disciples. However, in terms of appearance, she was recognized as the #1 beauty in the Hidden Fog sect. She was also an influential figure in the Hidden Fog sect. Her momentum was even fiercer than Duan Lingtian's, who frequently challenged Duan Lingtian when he was in seclusion. Duan Lingtian looked at Tang Wuyin and nodded with a smile. The Inner Sect Disciples Handbook only mentioned the Stairway to Heaven competition and briefly introduced it. You don't even know how the Stairway to Heaven competition was formed, right? The current Tang Wuyin seemed to know what Duan Lingtian was thinking. In fact, as soon as she arrived, she saw Duan Lingtian staring at the Heavenly Stairway competition with a puzzled expression on his face. She had the same expression on her face when she first came here. Therefore, it wasn't difficult for her to guess Duan Lingtian's thoughts. As Duan Lingtian nodded, Tang Wuyin also began to explain. On the surface, the Stairway to Heaven competition looks like an illusory array. In fact, it is indeed an array, but it isn't completely an illusory array. An illusory array is just an illusion. Inside, there are many different small planes that are separated. Every small plane is independent, and there are corresponding people who are guarding it, and these people are all inner sect disciples who have committed serious crimes and are imprisoned. Some inner sect disciples have even been imprisoned inside for hundreds of thousands of years. You have to know that it has only been less than 200,000 years since our Hidden Fog sect was established. Once you enter the Stairway to Heaven, you'll first appear in one of the small realms on the first level. The gatekeepers on the small realms on the first level have similar strength. Only by defeating them will you be able to leave the small realms on the first level and be teleported to one of the small realms on the second level. From Tang Wuyin's words, Duan Lingtian finally understood what the Stairway to Heaven competition was. It turned out that every Stairway to Heaven was an active plane prison. Inside, the Hidden Fog sect's inner sect disciples who had committed a grave mistake were imprisoned. Once they were imprisoned, they would be isolated from the world's spiritual energy. They wouldn't be able to cultivate and they wouldn't be able to improve their comprehension of the laws. This was because there was an array formation that interfered with the comprehension of the laws. It could be said that the Hidden Fog sect's inner sect disciples who were imprisoned inside were living a life worse than death. The only fun they had was the Stairway to Heaven competition. Moreover, not every hidden fog sect's inner sect disciple who was imprisoned inside could be selected to fight with the other inner sect disciples who were participating in the Stairway to Heaven competition. It all depended on luck. Chapter 3674. Being locked up in there is a fate worse than death. As Duan Lingtian sighed at the methods of the hidden fog sect, he couldn't help but feel a chill run down his spine when he thought of the hidden fog sect's inner sect disciples who were locked up in the small planes of the Stairway to Heaven. Perhaps many of the people locked up in there couldn't bear the shock and went crazy. Of course, many of the inner sect disciples locked up in there couldn't bear the boredom and chose to commit suicide. Tang Huiyan continued. If the inner sect disciples who challenged the Stairway to Heaven can't defeat the inner sect disciples locked up in there, wouldn't they be killed? Duan Lingtian asked. This kind of thing almost never happens unless the inner sect disciples are careless. You should have noticed that everyone who participates in the Stairway to Heaven will receive a token before they enter. Tang Huiyan said, and that token is the Stairway to Heaven. If you can't defeat your opponent in there, you can activate the Stairway to Heaven and be immediately teleported out. Unless you can't activate the Stairway to Heaven in time, but this is almost impossible. After all, the Stairway to Heaven is climbed one level at a time. If you can pass the first level, the inner sect disciples locked up in the next level won't be able to kill you before you activate the Stairway to Heaven. After listening to Tang Huiyan's explanation, Duan Lingtian gained a deeper understanding of the Heavenly Stairway contest. The key to the Stairway to Heaven was the Stairway to Heaven. For example, what level you reached, what level you were eliminated on, and how long you lasted on the level you were eliminated on, all of these could be reported to the hidden fog sect's inner sect elder who was guarding the Stairway to Heaven. In addition, the Stairway to Heaven was also a life-saving talisman. If you couldn't defeat the inner sect disciples locked up in there during the Stairway to Heaven, you could use the Stairway to Heaven to admit defeat and leave. While Tang Huiyan was explaining to Duan Lingtian, he saw the inner sect disciple who made a bet with the other inner sect disciple reach the third level. At the same time, the inner sect disciple who lost the divine stones stared at the little dot of light representing the inner sect disciple who made a bet with him. However, at that moment, most people's gazes were on Duan Lingtian. Among those gazes there was envy but even more jealousy. Tang Huiyan was the inner sect's #1 beauty. She was the dream lover of many male disciples in the hidden fog sect. She was usually cold and aloof and rarely walked so close to others, much less a male inner sect disciple. Generally speaking, what's the highest level an inner sect disciple in the divine spirit realm can reach? Duan Lingtian asked Tang Huiyan. The Stairway to Heaven had a total of 19 levels. Now, below the 12th level of the Stairway to Heaven, there were some small dots of light flickering. However, above the 12th floor there were no specks of light. On the 11th floor, there was only a small dot of light flickering. During the last Stairway to Heaven competition, there were 3 Divine Spirit Realm inner sect disciples who managed to ascend to the 8th level. One of them is Qiyu, the one who challenged you time and time again in the past 3 months. Tang Huiyan said, those 3 people all retreated from the 8th floor in the end. Whoever stays on the 8th floor the longest will be considered the first. Last time, although Qiyu's result was not bad, he wasn't first. He was only third. Tang Huiyan's words gave Duan Lingtian a certain understanding of the Stairway to Heaven competition. The Stairway to Heaven competition was not only targeted at the Divine Spirit Realm inner sect disciples, it was also targeted at the Divine King Realm inner sect disciples. Those little light dots on the 9th floor and above obviously corresponded to the Divine King Realm inner sect disciples. After all, the person who obtained first place in the last Stairway to Heaven competition had only managed to ascend to the 8th floor. That person basically represented the strength of the first echelon of Divine Spirit Realm inner sect disciples. After the Stairway to Heaven competition ends, the rankings will be released. At that time, the sect will give rewards to the top 10 people in the Stairway to Heaven competition. 4 people will be rewarded to Divine Spirit Realm inner sect disciples and 4 people will be rewarded to Divine King Realm inner sect disciples. After listening to Tang Huiyan's introduction, Duan Lingtian was eager to give it a try. Suddenly, a speck of light disappeared from the 3rd floor. Then the young man who won a divine stone from another inner sect disciple returned his bet with an unlucky expression. I was so close to rushing to the 4th floor. Damn it, I didn't think that guy would choose to risk his life in the end. So what if he won against me? In that state, in that environment, it won't be long before he dies. This young man was obviously scolding the opponent he encountered in the Stairway to Heaven competition, a hidden fog sect inner sect disciple who was imprisoned in a small plane. Haha, if you didn't ascend then you didn't ascend. What's with all this nonsense? There is only one chance in the Stairway to Heaven competition. Once you fail, you will have to wait for the next opportunity to step onto the Stairway to Heaven again. The inner sect disciple who took back his divine stone swept away his gloomy mood and a smile bloomed on his face. The quarrel between the two was just a small farce before the Stairway to Heaven competition. Senior apprentice Brother Qiyu reached the 8th floor again. Just as Duan Lingtian's attention returned to the Stairway to Heaven competition, Duan Lingtian raised an eyebrow. He followed the gazes of many inner sect disciples and saw that there was another speck of light on the 8th floor. This speck of light was originally on the 7th floor. This time, senior apprentice Brother Qiyu spent even less time on the 7th floor. It looks like his strength has improved by quite a bit. An inner sect disciple sighed. Qiyu? The corners of Duan Lingtian's mouth couldn't help but curl up into a mocking smile. Although he had never seen that inner sect disciple called Qiyu, he already knew that he was someone Tu Feng had sent to find trouble with him. He wasn't surprised that this person had challenged him again and again. This was because he already knew that this person had his eyes on him because of Tu Feng. The 8th floor? Duan Lingtian glanced at the speck of light that corresponded to Qiyu. He then leaped forward and arrived in front of the old man standing in front of the Stairway to Heaven. Elder, I'm an inner sect disciple, Duan Lingtian. I'm an intermediate god, and I wish to participate in the Stairway to Heaven competition. Just now, every person who came before the old man would say the same thing. They would announce their name and their cultivation base. When the old man heard Duan Lingtian's words, he didn't treat him indifferently like the other inner sect disciples. He looked at Duan Lingtian in surprise. You're Duan Lingtian? From Tianfeng City's Hidden Fog Academy? Yes. Duan Lingtian nodded. I've long heard of your name, but this is the first time I've met you. I hope you can achieve good results. A rare smile appeared on the old man's cold face. Then he took out a token and handed it to Duan Lingtian. This is the Stairway token. You can activate it by injecting your divine energy into it. If you want to come out, just inject your divine consciousness into it and it will bring you out. Thank you, Elder. After thanking the old man, Duan Lingtian took the Stairway token and flew up to the 1st floor of the Stairway to Heaven. The special treatment that Duan Lingtian received attracted a lot of attention. Is Duan Lingtian? The monster from Tianfeng City's Hidden Fog Academy? I was wondering who he is to be favored by Tang Wuyan. Goddess Tang Wuyan favors him? Don't talk nonsense. That's right. Goddess Tang Wuyan has always kept a distance from him. In my opinion, they are just ordinary friends. Duan Lingtian, who had entered the 1st floor of the Stairway to Heaven, didn't hear these people's discussions. However, Tang Wuyan heard them clearly, but she didn't care. Her beautiful eyes revealed a curious light as they fell on Duan Lingtian. She didn't have a good impression of this inner sect disciple from Tianfeng City's Hidden Fog Academy at first. However, after interacting with him that day, her competitive spirit was aroused. She, Tang Wuyan, was the #1 beauty of the Hidden Fog sect. When had she ever been ignored by a man like this? She still remembered that day when she led the way for Duan Lingtian. Duan Lingtian didn't even look at her. It was as if he didn't care about her beauty. Although she didn't want to be a vase, her beauty had always been one of the sources of her confidence. However, in front of this Duan Lingtian, her confidence was shattered into pieces. Sometimes women were just so strange. She didn't care about the men who circled around her. However, the men who ignored her only aroused her curiosity. Duan Lingtian naturally didn't know what Tang Wuyan was thinking. Now, after he obtained the Stairway to Heaven token and entered the Stairway to Heaven, he arrived in an independent space. It was very similar to the space inside a storage ring. There were no lights, only darkness. Obviously, this was one of the independent small planes that imprisoned the Hidden Fog sect's inner sect disciples who had committed great mistakes. Wah! Almost at the same moment Duan Lingtian appeared, a flame suddenly lit up in this dark space. Then, not only did the surrounding environment appear in front of Duan Lingtian, but there was also a sloppy figure. This was a small deserted valley. Outside the valley there was only darkness. Even light couldn't illuminate the darkness. Obviously, this place was isolated by a space barrier and no light could pass through. Has the sect's Stairway to Heaven competition started again? Under Duan Lingtian's gaze, the sloppy young man who was originally sitting cross-legged in the corner of the valley slowly stood up. Flames wrapped around his body. His divine power fused with the mysteries of the law of fire, emitting a scorching aura. Duan Lingtian responded faintly. Make your move. The sloppy young man said. You're not my match. Duan Lingtian said. When the sloppy young man appeared in front of him, he extended his divine consciousness and discovered that the other party was only an intermediate deity. Moreover, the mysteries of the law of fire that were fused with his divine power were not all at the great mastery level. You're also an intermediate deity. How would you know if you don't try? The sloppy young man asked in a hoarse voice. Duan Lingtian shook his head. Then his divine power flashed out. All the mysteries of the law of space that were at the great mastery level appeared, causing the air in the small valley to stagnate. At the same time, the small valley fell into a dead silence. After a while, the sloppy young man slowly said, I admit defeat. Chapter 3675. Then, the sloppy young man raised his hand and pointed in the air. A beam of crimson energy hit the void and hit a certain part of the space barrier. Suddenly, Duan Lingtian felt a suction force sweeping in from all parts of the space barrier and enveloping him. Then, in a flash of darkness and light, he found himself in another place. It was no longer a dark space where he could not even see his own fingers. A gigantic luminous pearl hung high in the sky, illuminating the entire small realm. Duan Lingtian stood in a vast stone forest with strange rocks of varying sizes. However, he did not see anyone at all in this place. It seems that this is one of the small dimensions on the second level of the celestial stairway. Duan Lingtian thought to himself. As for why there was no one, Duan Lingtian guessed that the other party must be hiding. Without hesitation, Duan Lingtian scanned with his divine consciousness and soon found a figure hiding behind a huge rock not far away. After the other party sensed his divine consciousness, he showed himself at the right time. It was a young man in a long blue robe. His face was cold and his body was smooth and clean. He did not look like someone who had been imprisoned here for many years. This person was the polar opposite of the sloppy young man Duan Lingtian met on the first level of the celestial stairway. Whoosh! Whoosh! The smooth and cold young man looked at Duan Lingtian indifferently. He did not greet Duan Lingtian and directly attacked without saying a word. Divine power swept out and integrated with the water precept. Now, Duan Lingtian also knew why the other party could remain smooth and clean even though he was imprisoned here. It was because he was good at the water precept. The water precept, integrated with divine power, could easily turn into water. In addition, when the young man attacked, Duan Lingtian found that his strength was much stronger than the young man at the first level of the celestial stairway. He had comprehended all the profound meanings of the water precept. However, he had not comprehended the integrated profound meaning. In addition, he was only a middle deity. Bang! In the face of this ferocious opponent, Duan Lingtian merely raised his eyelids and casually waved his hand. A devastating spatial storm swept out to shatter his opponent's attack in the blink of an eye before heavily injuring his opponent and sending him flying. Piff! As he spat out a mouthful of blood, he looked at Duan Lingtian in horror. Then, as if afraid that Duan Lingtian would attack again, he hurriedly activated the teleportation array to send Duan Lingtian away. Just like that, Duan Lingtian reached the third level. It was still a crushing defeat. The inner sect disciple imprisoned on the third step of the celestial stairway was an intermediate deity. In addition, all of his metal elemental law profundity had reached greater mastery, and he had also begun to comprehend fusion profundity. However, this little bit of strength was still not worth mentioning in front of Duan Lingtian. He was defeated by Duan Lingtian in one move. The fourth level was the same. The fifth level was the same. On the sixth level, Duan Lingtian defeated his opponent after some effort. Of course, this was under the condition that he had concealed his strength. If Duan Lingtian had gone all out, he could have easily defeated his opponent as well. On the seventh level, Duan Lingtian faced an imprisoned inner sect disciple. Not only was he a higher deity, but he had also comprehended multiple dual profundity fusion profundity and was extremely powerful. To Duan Lingtian, who had concealed his strength, he posed a certain amount of pressure. Duan Lingtian was in the midst of a fierce battle with his opponent. All of a sudden, the power of divinity in his body surged. Then, in a bizarre manner, he actually broke through the final bottleneck at this very moment. For a moment, Duan Lingtian successfully stepped into the level of a higher deity in the midst of the fierce battle. A last-minute breakthrough? Upon seeing Duan Lingtian's last-minute breakthrough, not only did his opponent, the inner sect disciple imprisoned on the seventh level of the celestial stairway, show no fear, but instead pounced on him even more ferociously. This was because during a last-minute breakthrough, one would need to spend time to stabilize the transformed power of divinity. Now, this inner sect disciple was trying to seize the opportunity to launch a sneak attack on Duan Tian. Once the sneak attack succeeded, he would most likely win. Swoosh. However, Duan Tian seemed to have guessed that he would strike at this moment. In a flash, his figure disappeared from the spot like a ghost. With a flash, he appeared at another location. Then the inner sect disciple continued his sneak attack. After Duan Tian had slightly calmed down his transformed power of divinity, it was already too late for him to use another teleport. Instantly, his gaze turned cold as he glared at the inner sect disciple who had launched another sneak attack. Since you want to die, I'll fulfill your wish. When the inner sect disciple approached, Duan Tian immediately used the Tao of Control, one of the 4 Taos of heaven and earth. The terrifying power of space raged and exploded around him, killing the inner sect disciple on the spot. This was also the first person that Duan Tian had killed in the process of challenging the celestial stairway. Along the way he had not deliberately killed anyone. After all, there was no enmity between them. He felt that there was no need to do so. After killing the inner sect disciple, Duan Tian sat down cross-legged on the 7th level of the celestial stairway to cultivate, calming down his newly transformed divine power. At the same time, outside the celestial stairway, many inner sect disciples, including Tang Wuyin, were looking at the little dot of light that Duan Tian had turned into. This was because this dot of light was climbing the celestial stairway at an extremely fast speed. From the 1st level to the 6th level, it had maintained an extremely fast speed. From the 6th level to the 7th level it was slightly slower. However, at the 7th level it suddenly became quiet. After a long while it did not reach the 8th level, but it did not disappear either. Looks like that Duan Tian is going to stop at the 7th level. An inner sect disciple sighed. To be able to reach the 7th level as a medium deity is already very impressive. As expected of the monster from Wind City's Hidden Fog Academy. He really lives up to his name. That's right. Even the 10 most powerful inner sect disciples wouldn't be able to make it to the 7th floor when they were still intermediate gods. Even if Duan Tian is eliminated on the 7th level, he should be proud of himself. Tang Wuyin's eyes were filled with anticipation as she looked at the little dot of light that represented Duan Tian. Even she did not know why, but when she heard the voices of those who did not have high hopes for Duan Tian, she actually hoped that Duan Tian could create a miracle. However, she felt that this miracle would not be easy to create. Whoosh. At this moment, a figure appeared in front of everyone. It was the little dot of light on the 8th level that had disappeared. Then, a person appeared in front of the celestial stairway. At this moment, a young man in a brownish-green robe appeared. He was tall and had a handsome face. As soon as he appeared, he attracted the sparkling eyes of many inner sect female disciples present. It was as if they could not wait to pounce on him. It's Senior Brother Qiyu. Senior Brother Qiyu is out. Although he did not pass the 8th level, he stayed on the 8th level for a long time this time. It was obvious that he lasted for a long time. It seems that Senior Brother Qiyu is going to be the champion in this celestial stairway contest. Senior Brother Qiyu is really amazing. A group of inner sect disciples stared at Qiyu with sparkling eyes. They were not stingy with their praises and words of praise. It was a stark contrast to the way they looked at Duan Tian just now. Junior Sister Wuyin? After Qiyu came out, he basked in the respect of the group of inner sect disciples. He looked arrogant until he saw Tang Wuyin. His eyes lit up and his expression softened. Then Qiyu handed his celestial stairway token to the elder. After greeting the elder, he came to Tang Wuyin and asked with a smile, Junior Sister Wuyin, did you just come here or did you come out from the celestial stairway? Senior Brother Qiyu. Tang Wuyin greeted Qiyu and said, I haven't entered the celestial stairway yet. You haven't entered? Qiyu asked with a smile, are you going to enter now? I remember that although Junior Sister Wuyin didn't reach the 8th floor last time, you still stayed on the 7th floor for a long time. You almost squeezed into the top 10 in the last celestial stairway contest. This time, I think Junior Sister Wuyin has a high chance of squeezing into the top 10. Qiyu said, it seems that I am fated to witness Junior Sister Wuyin's outstanding performance today. In front of Tang Wuyin, Qiyu was very enthusiastic. What? Qiyu liked Tang Wuyin. This was not a secret in the Hidden Fog sect's inner sect, or even the entire Hidden Fog sect. Because of this, although many inner sect male disciples had feelings for Tang Wuyin, they didn't dare to show it. This was because they were all afraid of Qiyu. I don't plan on going in for the time being. Let's wait for my friend to come out first. As for Qiyu, Tang Huiyan didn't ignore him, but she didn't want to talk to him. Although Qiyu was outstanding, his reputation wasn't good. As far as she knew, there were no less than 5 inner sect female disciples who had an ambiguous relationship with him. However, those inner sect female disciples didn't think Qiyu was a playboy or irresponsible. As an outsider, she naturally couldn't say anything. However, she didn't have a good impression of Qiyu. Your friend? Oh, do I know him? Qiyu asked with a smile. You should know him. Tang Huiyan looked deeply at Qiyu. After all, senior brother Qiyu, in the past 3 months, you have challenged him 3 times in a row while he was in closed-door cultivation. Qiyu's pupils shrank. He asked in disbelief, Junior Sister Huiyan, the friend you are talking about, is that Duan Lingtan? Yes. Tang Huiyan nodded. Then, her gaze fell on the small light that represented Duan Lingtian again. She no longer looked at Qiyu. When Qiyu saw how focused Tang Huiyan was, his face became even more ghastly. He clenched his fists tightly. Following Tang Huiyan's gaze, he looked at one of the small light spots on the 7th floor with a cold glint in his eyes. Previously, he had targeted Duan Lingtian only because of Tu Feng. However, from this moment on, even he wanted to target Duan Lingtian. This was the first time he saw Tang Huiyan so focused on caring for a man. This was something that he, Qiyu, had never experienced. What right did that Duan Lingtian have to do this? Duan Lingtian didn't know that Qiyu had left the 8th floor of the stairway to heaven. He also didn't know that Qiyu hated him very much because of Tang Huiyan. Okay, I can go to the 8th floor now. After stabilizing his divine power and breaking through to the high-level deity level, Duan Lingtian stabilized his cultivation and then went to the 8th floor of the stairway to heaven. Chapter 3676. After dealing with the inner sect disciple who was imprisoned on the 7th level of the celestial stairway, Duan Lingtian felt a suction force trying to take him away. It was obviously the teleportation power from the 8th level. However, when he realized that he could ignore this suction force, he began to cultivate on the 7th level. When Duan Lingtian was done cultivating, he calmed his divine energy that had transformed after breaking through to the higher-ranked deity stage and slightly stabilized his cultivation base as a higher-ranked deity. Then he stopped cultivating and allowed the suction force to take him away. In the blink of an eye, Duan Lingtian appeared in the air above a sea of blood. It was called a sea of blood because he was now above a blood-red sea. He could smell the pungent stench of blood, but there was no one around him. However, when his divine perception swept out and probed the approximate range of the spatial barrier, Duan Lingtian already had an idea. Whoosh! With a teleportation, Duan Lingtian disappeared on the spot. When he reappeared, he was already in the sky, looking down at the sea of blood. The power of bloodline can actually extend to such an illusion and prevent my divine perception from detecting your presence. It's indeed impressive. However, do you think you can sneak up on me by hiding like this? Duan Lingtian asked calmly as he stood in the air with his hands behind his back and looked down at the sea of blood beneath his feet. Almost as soon as Duan Lingtian finished speaking, the sea of blood beneath his feet boiled and rolled. Then, it completely vanished and transformed into a middle-aged man in a long dark red robe. The middle-aged man was tall and had a determined face. His brows were cold and his eyes were like lightning. You have good eyesight. You can actually tell that it's the power of my bloodline. Now, as the middle-aged man withdrew the sea of blood, what appeared before Duan Lingtian's eyes was a barren plain without a trace of life. Since I've been teleported here, it's naturally impossible that there's no one here. My divine perception can't detect your presence, so how can I not guess? Duan Lingtian asked in return. You're pretty smart. In the past, many inner sect disciples were killed by me before they could even react. They didn't even have the chance to leave with the heavenly stairway badge. The middle-aged man grinned. The days here are too boring. What I'm looking forward to the most is for you inner sect disciples who are challenging the stairway to heaven to come in and give me some fun. Seeing that you're smart, even if I have the chance to kill you today, I won't. From the middle-aged man's words, it was clear that he was very confident in himself. Kill me? Duan Lingtian smiled faintly. Then I'll thank you for not killing me. Brat, it seems like you don't care about my words. The blood-robed middle-aged man laughed coldly. However, you will soon know what despair is. I, Shui Haishan, am the second strongest among all the inner sect disciples who are imprisoned on the 8th level of the stairway to heaven if I claim to be first. As soon as the crimson-robed man finished speaking, he moved. Divine power bloomed from his body. Then, It fused with an inexplicable law that caused one's heart to palpitate. Then, as he pointed his finger, the space around him froze. Moreover, this freezing continued to spread. In the blink of an eye, the space around Duan Lingtian was shrouded in this space. This familiar aura caused Duan Lingtian's heart to stir. The law of time. He saw through it. This higher deity named Shui Haishan was an inner sect disciple of the Hidden Fog sect. He comprehended one of the four supreme laws, the law of time. This law of time was also the strangest law of the four supreme laws. After all, this law of time could be used to control time, making it impossible to guard against. However, the moment Shui Haishan attacked, Duan Lingtian sensed that he comprehended the law of time. Moreover, he was extremely proficient in the law of time. He even comprehended the fusion of three profundities of the law of time. You comprehended the fusion of three profundities of the law of time. Although it's only one, it's enough for you to stand out among the inner sect disciples imprisoned on the 8th step of the celestial stairway. Duan Lingtian spoke again. Divine power swept out from his body. He fused the space law's fundamental profundities, the space element, and then fused the three profundities. Moreover, he fused more than one of the three profundities. Two types of three profundities fused and resonated. A mighty spatial storm swept out. In the blink of an eye, it blocked Shui Haishan's law of time, causing his law of time to be unable to advance any further. This way it wouldn't affect Duan Lingtian. As one of the four supreme laws, the law of space wasn't as strange as the law of time, but it still couldn't be underestimated. Once the two types of three profundities of the law of space fused together, the surrounding space was immediately sealed. Because the space was sealed, Shui Haishan's law of time couldn't spread towards Duan Lingtian. It couldn't affect Duan Lingtian. Shui Haishan's originally arrogant expression changed drastically at this moment. He completely collapsed. You actually comprehended two types of three profundities of the law of space fused together. Why did Shui Haishan think that none of the inner sect disciples imprisoned on the 8th step of the celestial stairway were his match? Basically, all of the inner sect disciples imprisoned on the 8th step of the celestial stairway were higher deities. Moreover, they had all comprehended one type of three profundities of the law of space fused together. Although Shui Haishan was the same, he had comprehended the law of time. The law of time was one of the four supreme laws. It was also the leader of the four supreme laws. He had the confidence to say that he was the strongest among the inner sect disciples imprisoned on the 8th step of the celestial stairway. However, the opponent he was facing now didn't just comprehend one of the four supreme laws, the law of space, but also two types of three profundities of the law of space fused together. This instantly made him feel hopeless. He wasn't a match for such an existence. Do you still want to continue? Duan Lingtian thought. The space windstorm continued to move forward. In the blink of an eye, it gradually invaded the space affected by Shui Haishan's law of time. During this process, Shui Haishan's power couldn't stop the space windstorm at all. Humph! Shui Haishan snorted coldly. His face turned cold. Then a small flag appeared in his hand. The flag was square in shape and embroidered with extremely complicated patterns and patterns. Once it appeared, Shui Haishan injected his divine power into it. Then Shui Haishan's attack soared. For a moment, not only was he able to match Duan Lingtian's attack, but he was even showing signs of suppressing it. Do you think you're the only one who has a medium divine weapon? Although Duan Lingtian didn't expect Shui Haishan to be able to take out a medium divine weapon, even if it was just a medium divine weapon without a weapon soul, he wasn't afraid at all. With a raise of his hand, a medium divine sword appeared in his hand. Swoosh! Duan Lingtian injected his divine power into the sword and swung it. In the next moment, the originally suppressed spatial energy was completely guided, turning into a ray of sword light completely condensed from a spatial storm. It streaked through the air and destroyed Shui Haishan's attack as easily as crushing dry weeds. Then it continued to rush forward, only gradually dissipating when it arrived in front of Shui Haishan. At this moment, Shui Haishan's robes fluttered, his face pale and his eyes filled with despair. There were even many pieces of cloth on his robes that were torn apart, and there were many hideous bloody wounds on his body. Although Duan Lingtian stopped in time, because the ray of sword light condensed from the spatial storm was too close to Shui Haishan still suffered some superficial wounds. Whoosh! A gust of wind blew past, and Shui Haishan could feel a chill coming from his wounds. However, he was wild with joy. He originally thought that he would definitely die, but he didn't expect to have a chance to live. Brother, thank you for showing mercy. Shui Haishan bowed to Duan Lingtian and thanked him. Brother, I, Shui Haishan, will remember this kindness in my heart. I wonder how I should address you, brother? Duan Lingtian. Duan Lingtian replied. The reason he didn't kill Shui Haishan was because Shui Haishan had said earlier that he wouldn't kill him. Otherwise, he wouldn't have bothered to stop earlier. Duan Lingtian, I'll remember this. Shui Haishan nodded. If I get out in the future, I'll definitely return this favor, brother. Duan Lingtian didn't take Shui Haishan's words to heart. In his opinion, the inner sect disciples who were imprisoned in the small realm in the stairway to heaven had all committed grave mistakes. Even if they could get out, it would be a long time later. Moreover, Duan Lingtian's strength was far inferior to his. Even now, it would be difficult for him to return the favor, let alone in the future. Brother, now that you've reached the 9th level of the stairway to heaven, don't hesitate if you encounter any danger. Just use the stairway heaven token to get out. Since you're able to ascend to the 9th level, you're basically the first among the inner sect disciples in the divine spirit stage in the stairway to heaven battle. Shui Haishan reminded Duan Lingtian before he sent him off. Those on the 9th level of the stairway to heaven, are all god kings? Duan Lingtian asked. More than 90% of them are god kings. Shui Haishan nodded. Only a small number of them are higher deities who have comprehended the fusion of 2 types of 3 profundities of a certain law. If you're lucky enough to encounter such people, brother, you'll still have a chance to pass the 9th level. If you encounter a god king, even if the other party's comprehension of the law profundities is ordinary, brother, it'll still be difficult for you to be a match for him. When you reach the 9th level, try your best to hold on for a while. If the situation doesn't seem right, just leave. Shui Haishan said. All right. Duan Lingtian nodded. I'll go out and find you for a drink, brother. Shui Haishan bade farewell to Duan Lingtian before he activated the formation and sent Duan Lingtian out of the 8th level to the 9th level. After Duan Lingtian's figure disappeared before his eyes, Shui Haishan could not help but sigh. I really didn't expect another higher deity to appear in the sect who has comprehended the fusion of 2 types of 3 profundities of a certain law. Moreover, what he comprehended was the space law. Even in the era before Shui Haishan was imprisoned, such a person was as rare as a phoenix feather or a Qilin horn in the Hidden Fog sect. In his generation, only his younger brother, Shui Haichuan, had managed to reach this stage. I wonder how that boy Haichuan is doing after 10,000 years, with his talent and perception. Even if he isn't a divine emperor, he should be a higher deity king by now, right? Shui Haishan muttered to himself. At the same time, outside the stairway to heaven, there was an uproar. Heavens! Duan Lingtian actually ascended to the 9th level. Am I seeing things? Chapter 3677. When Duan Lingtian came to the Hidden Fog sect, he already had a great reputation. In the Hidden Fog sect's inner sect, apart from those who were particularly ill-informed or in seclusion, everyone knew of him. In addition, in the last 3 months, Qiyu, one of the Hidden Fog sect's top 10 inner sect disciples, had challenged Duan Lingtian time and time again. This caused them to involuntarily pay more attention to Duan Lingtian. They were even looking forward to the battle between Duan Lingtian and Qiyu. Of course, most people favored Qiyu. Although it was said that Duan Lingtian had comprehended the fusion of 3 profundities of the space law, Qiyu had also comprehended the fusion of 3 profundities of the wind law. Moreover, Qiyu was a higher deity while Duan Lingtian was only an intermediate deity. They had comprehended similar profundities of the laws, even if they had comprehended one of the 4 supreme laws. For Duan Lingtian to jump a cultivation level and defeat Qiyu was tantamount to a fantasy. Today, Duan Lingtian appeared at the Celestial Stairway competition. First, he appeared to be familiar with Tang Huiyin, further attracting attention. Then, he entered the Celestial Stairway and participated in the Celestial Stairway competition. This immediately attracted the attention of the vast majority of inner sect disciples outside the Celestial Stairway. When Duan Lingtian ascended to the 8th step, the group of people outside the Celestial Stairway were shocked. They never imagined that Duan Lingtian would be able to ascend to the 8th step. If Duan Lingtian had a higher deity cultivation, they wouldn't be surprised if he ascended to the 8th step. But the problem was that Duan Lingtian wasn't a higher deity but an intermediate deity. An intermediate deity ascending to the 8th step? How was this possible? It was precisely because of this that when Qiyu came out and saw Duan Lingtian ascend to the 8th step, he was also shocked. This Duan Lingtian can last for a moment on the 8th step. That's already pretty good. He stayed on the 7th step for so long. It must have been very difficult for him to ascend. This was what Qiyu thought when he saw Duan Lingtian ascend to the 8th step. However, what happened next left him dumbfounded. After Duan Lingtian ascended to the 8th level of the heavenly stairway, it did not take long before he ascended to the 9th level of the heavenly stairway. One had to know that unless one defeated or killed an inner sect disciple who was imprisoned on the 8th level of the celestial stairway, or if the other party admitted defeat, it was impossible to ascend to the 9th level of the celestial stairway. The 8th step of the celestial stairway was more difficult than the 7th step. Duan Lingtian actually reached the 9th level of the stairway to heaven. Oh my God! He has passed the 8th level of the celestial stairway. Many people cried out in alarm. Even Tang Huiyan's pretty face was filled with astonishment. He passed the 8th floor? Although Tang Huiyan had never climbed to the 8th level of the stairway, she had climbed to the 7th level. She knew what kind of existence the 7th level of the stairway was. At the very least, she was no match for the inner sect disciples imprisoned there. Otherwise, she would have reached the 8th level of the celestial stairway like Qiyu. And now, not only had Duan Lingtian reached the 8th level, but he had also reached the 9th level. This also meant that he had successfully passed the 8th level. Could it be that the gatekeeper of the 8th level went easy on him? An inner sect disciple couldn't help but guess. After all, Duan Lingtian stayed on the 7th level for such a long time. It's obvious that he barely passed the 7th level. Under such circumstances, it's almost impossible for him to pass the 8th level. The gatekeeper of the 8th level went easy on him? That's impossible, right? It has to be known that those gatekeepers are inner sect disciples of our hidden fog sect who committed a grave mistake and were locked up. Once they succeed, they can reduce the number of years they can be imprisoned. To them, this is a good thing. In this situation, how could they possibly go easy on us? That being said, in the history of our hidden fog sect, there have been cases of people going easy on him. There are all kinds of reasons. More often than not, it's because the gatekeeper gave up on himself and knew the challenger. As the saying went, 3 people became a tiger. As some inner sect disciples took the lead to voice their doubts, more and more people began to think that Duan Lingtian could pass the 8th level because the gatekeeper had gone easy on him. So what if he obtained first place in this celestial stairway struggle? No one will believe him. Qiyu sneered. Senior apprentice brother Qiyu. Although Tang Huiyan also felt that the possibility of the gatekeeper of the 8th level going easy on Duan Lingtian was very high, she didn't know why, but when she heard Qiyu's words, she still didn't like it. Are you sure? Can't he pass the 8th level with his own strength? Junior apprentice sister Wu Yan. Qiyu said with a smile, a person who wasted so much time on the 7th level? Do you think that after he ascends to the 8th level, he will be able to pass so easily with his own strength? Hearing this, Tang Huiyan frowned. Maybe he started cultivating on the 7th floor and only went to the 8th floor after he became a higher deity? Breakthrough? How can there be such a coincidence? Qiyu was stunned for a moment and then shook his head. He felt that this possibility was very low. Of course, he couldn't help but be wary. That Duan Lingtian was only an intermediate god now. He could still suppress him, but when he broke through to the higher god realm in the future, he probably wouldn't be able to suppress him anymore. Duan Lingtian didn't know what was happening outside. Now, after meeting Shui Haishan on the 8th level of the celestial stairway, Duan Lingtian had successfully arrived at one of the small dimensions on the 9th level of the celestial stairway. The small dimension had picturesque scenery with mountains and rivers. A figure in a white robe stood on the peak of the mountain with his hands behind his back. He had an elegant temperament. After Duan Lingtian appeared, his eyes fell on this person. This was a middle-aged man dressed like a scholar. Although his face was ordinary, the invisible aura he exuded made it impossible for others to ignore him. Even in a crowd, he would definitely be the most conspicuous one. You're quite strong to be able to make it here with your cultivation level as a higher god. When Duan Lingtian felt a divine consciousness enveloping him, he heard the middle-aged scholar's voice suddenly speak again. His voice was calm and incomparably confident. Duan Lingtian could not help but be stunned. A higher god? Through the middle-aged scholar's divine consciousness, Duan Lingtian immediately confirmed the other party's cultivation level. Just like him, they were both higher gods. Recalling what Shui Haishan said on the 8th level of the celestial stairway, Duan Lingtian knew that he was lucky to have come to the small dimension where the inner sect disciples at the 9th level of the celestial stairway who were at the higher god realm were imprisoned. At the same time, Duan Lingtian's heart skipped a beat. That Shui Haishan said before, The inner sect disciples imprisoned on the 9th level of the celestial stairway are basically all god kings. There are only a few higher gods, and those higher gods, without exception, have comprehended at least 2 types of fusion of the 3 profound meanings. It seems that the middle-aged man in front of me is that kind of person. Duan Lingtian thought to himself. Are you surprised that I'm a higher god? The middle-aged scholar saw Duan Lingtian shudder, but the smile on his face was as calm as ever. However, I'm different from the higher gods you've encountered before. Presumably, on the 8th level of the celestial stairway, you've also encountered a higher god who comprehended some kind of law or fusion of the 3 profound meanings, right? I can crush, defeat, or even kill a higher deity like that in a single exchange. The middle-aged scholar's tone was full of pride. I believe that. Duan Lingtian nodded and said in all seriousness, since you can be one of the gatekeepers of the 9th level of the celestial stairway, it means that your strength is far stronger than the gatekeepers on the 8th level of the celestial stairway. However, I'm very curious. Duan Lingtian already faintly understood the middle-aged scholar's background, so he didn't doubt the middle-aged scholar's words. The Hidden Fog sect is actually willing to imprison someone like you here? With a higher god cultivation, to comprehend any kind of law or to fuse 2 or more types of 3 profound meanings together, even if placed in the history of the Hidden Fog sect, I'm afraid you are an extremely rare existence. After Duan Lingtian finished speaking, he looked at the middle-aged scholar, waiting for the other party's response. It seems that a little fellow like you knows a lot. The middle-aged scholar looked deeply at Duan Lingtian and said, if it were an ordinary mistake, no matter how great it was, with my talent and perception, the Hidden Fog sect wouldn't imprison me here. But do you know what mistake I made? The middle-aged scholar asked in reply. What mistake? Duan Lingtian was startled. I killed my honorable master, the Hidden Fog sect master at the time. The middle-aged scholar grinned, revealing 2 rows of snow-white teeth. But as his words entered Duan Lingtian's ears, Duan Lingtian's heart couldn't help but tremble. He killed the Hidden Fog sect master? Moreover, the Hidden Fog sect master was this person's honorable master? Duan Lingtian's gaze when he looked at the middle-aged scholar was filled with contempt. What? Are you looking down on me? The middle-aged scholar curled his lips, as if he could see through Duan Lingtian's thoughts. Do you know why I killed him? Because he wanted me to stay in the Hidden Fog sect and take over his position. He personally gave the order to exterminate my entire family. My entire family, over 1,000 lives, all of them died because of a single order from him. As the middle-aged scholar spoke to this point, he was practically gnashing his teeth. And from his body, bursts of swift and fierce aura swept out in a timely manner. A frightening cyan astral wind revolved around his body as if it had transformed into a cyan wind dragon. The wind howled. As for the middle-aged scholar's voice, it reverberated through this small world, deafening to the ears. Are you sure you didn't make a mistake? Duan Lingtian frowned. He found it hard to imagine that the former Hidden Fog sect master would exterminate his entire family because of this. Perhaps there was a misunderstanding? I can't be wrong. The middle-aged scholar said in a low voice. At that time, when the person he sent reported to him, I just happened to hear it. I heard it with my own ears, so how could I be wrong? In the past, I told him that I had no intention of becoming the next sect master of the Hidden Fog sect. I wanted to return to my family and lead them to become a God King level family clan, or even a God Emperor level family clan. He wasn't willing for me to leave the Hidden Fog sect like this, so he wanted to kill my entire family. Chapter 3678. The middle-aged scholar's words were filled with anger. As for Duan Lingtian, he could feel a bone-deep hatred from the middle-aged scholar's tone. At the same time, he finally realized why this middle-aged scholar was imprisoned here. Even if such a person didn't die, he definitely couldn't be released. Otherwise, sooner or later he would bring disaster to the Hidden Fog sect. To be appointed as the next successor to the Hidden Fog sect master, his talent and perception could be imagined. He was absolutely at the peak. In the future, when he stood up, he would surely be a giant. It wouldn't be difficult for him to establish a divine emperor-level influence. Even if the Hidden Fog sect didn't kill him, it was impossible for them to allow him to grow. The small world of the Stairway to Heaven was undoubtedly the best place for him to belong. In the Stairway to Heaven's world, there are many people who are imprisoned for an indefinite period of time. Is your imprisonment also permanent? Duan Lingtian asked as he looked at the middle-aged scholar. What do you think? The middle-aged scholar sneered. He asked in return, I am just over 2,300 years old and yet I have already become a higher deity. Moreover, I have even comprehended the fusion of two types of wind laws, three profound meanings. Even if placed in the history of the Hidden Fog sect, such achievements can be counted on one hand. If it weren't for them wanting to use me as a gatekeeper for the stairway to heaven's struggle to temper their juniors, they would have already killed me. It is impossible for them to release me, my imprisonment is naturally permanent. As he spoke, the corners of the middle-aged scholar's mouth curled into a mocking smile. A dignified God-Emperor-level sect is as timid as a mouse. Even a mere higher deity like me is afraid of them. How laughable. Hearing the middle-aged scholar's words, Duan Lingtian was startled. He never imagined that this middle-aged scholar would have such astonishing achievements at such a young age. All right, enough nonsense. Boy, do you want to leave by yourself or do you want me to send you out? The middle-aged scholar narrowed his eyes as he looked at Duan Lingtian. His divine energy that had been boosted with the law of wind began to stir as though a terrifying tornado was brewing in his body. Hearing the middle-aged scholar's words, Duan Lingtian smiled indifferently. Although I don't intend to pass the 9th level, I'm afraid you don't have the ability to send me out. Duan Lingtian's words made the middle-aged scholar sneer. Kid, it seems like you don't know how strong I am. What? Next, I'll let you experience my strength. As soon as he finished speaking, the middle-aged scholar attacked. Whoosh! Crash! Along with the tornado on the middle-aged scholar's body, a terrifying storm swept out towards Duan Lingtian as if it covered the heavens and the earth. It was like a gigantic beast that opened its bloody mouth and wanted to swallow Duan Lingtian up the staircase. However, this storm disappeared just as quickly as it came. Boom! Rumble! The spatial storm raged as it crushed this similarly shocking storm that originated from the middle-aged scholar without any effort, causing the middle-aged man's expression to instantly change drastically. You've actually comprehended the fusion of 3 profundities from the law of space. Although there were only 8 profundities from the law of space that could be fused, it did not mean that only 2 profundities could be fused. It could also be fused 3, 4, or even 5 profundities. It was just that the combinations were different. The more one comprehended, the stronger the power would be. At this moment, Duan Lingtian had used the fusion of 3 profundities from the law of space to crush the middle-aged scholar's strength. It was similar to how he had defeated Shui Haishan, who was at the 8th level of the celestial stairway. Bang! A violent spatial energy came crashing down like a giant hammer and landed on the middle-aged scholar's body, sending him flying violently. Of course, at this critical moment, Duan Lingtian withdrew most of his strength. Otherwise, the middle-aged scholar would have died without a doubt. Just as the middle-aged scholar regained his senses, his face turned green and pale. He was shocked when he saw the purple figure standing in the distance had taken out the celestial stairway token and left. The figure flashed and disappeared before his eyes. He doesn't plan on going to the 10th level of the celestial stairway? Seeing this, the middle-aged scholar was stunned for a moment. However, he immediately thought of something and wiped the blood from the corner of his mouth. A smile appeared on his face. It seems that he doesn't want to be too high profile. A higher deity ascending to the 10th level of the celestial stairway. In the history of the Hidden Fog sect, no one has ever done this. The best one has ever done was to ascend to the 9th level of the celestial stairway. In the blink of an eye, the middle-aged scholar guessed why the purple-clothed youth didn't go to the 10th level of the celestial stairway. It turned out that he wanted to keep a low profile. I really didn't expect the Hidden Fog sect to produce such a character, the middle-aged scholar sighed with a bit of regret. Such a character was even more outstanding than he was in the past. Outside the celestial stairway, the small dot of light that represented Duan Lingtian. After reaching the 9th level of the celestial stairway, most people thought that Duan Lingtian would soon be eliminated. Even Tang Weian felt the same way. However, what surprised them was that after Duan Lingtian ascended to the 9th level of the celestial stairway, he didn't come out for a long time. Could it be that he still has the ability to compete with the people on the 9th level of the celestial stairway? Otherwise, how could he last for so long? An inner sect disciple guessed in horror. Impossible. There must be another reason. Another inner sect disciple shook his head. He obviously didn't want to believe this. After all, he stayed on the 7th level of the celestial stairway for a long time. I think so too. The gatekeeper must have gone easy on him for him to pass the 8th level of the celestial stairway so easily. The group of people outside never expected that the reason Duan Lingtian stayed on the 9th level of the celestial stairway for so long was because he was chatting with the gatekeeper. Whoosh! Finally, under the watchful eyes of the group of people, Duan Lingtian finally appeared. He had stopped on the 9th level of the celestial stairway. Naturally, they did not expect Duan Lingtian to come out after defeating the gatekeeper on the 9th level of the celestial stairway. They thought Duan Lingtian was mercilessly eliminated by the gatekeeper on the 9th level of the celestial stairway. Duan Lingtian is out. He stopped on the 9th level. Moreover, he stayed on the 9th level for such a long time. If there are no accidents, he'll be the first in the celestial stairway contest this time. He's really lucky. The group of inner sect disciples whispered among themselves. Although their voices were not loud, Duan Lingtian heard them loud and clear. Elder. When Duan Lingtian passed the celestial stairway order to the old man asked curiously, Duan Lingtian, did you fight with the gatekeeper on the 9th level of the celestial stairway for a long time? No. Duan Lingtian shook his head. It ended quickly. It could be said that it ended in a single exchange. It ended in a single exchange. The old man was startled. If that's the case, why did you stay on the 9th level for such a long time? At this moment, whether it was the hidden fog sect's inner sect elder or the surrounding inner sect disciples, they all thought that Duan Lingtian had been defeated by the gatekeeper on the 9th level of the celestial stairway in a single exchange. They would never have dreamed that Duan Lingtian would say that he had defeated the gatekeeper on the 9th level in a single exchange. However, as the hidden fog sect's inner sect elder asked this question, the other inner sect disciples also looked at Duan Lingtian. They were curious as to why Duan Lingtian could stay on the 9th level for such a long time. We chatted for a while. Duan Lingtian's reply caused everyone to be petrified. They never thought that this was the reason. It was because he had chatted with the gatekeeper that he could stay on the 9th level for such a long time. This fellow, how could his luck be so good? He met a gatekeeper who was willing to chat with him? One had to know that it wasn't as if they hadn't thought of chatting with the keeper that they couldn't defeat in order to prolong the time they had to spend on the last floor. However, the keeper seemed to have the attitude of not saying anything more than half a sentence, and directly eliminated them mercilessly. You've really run into dog-sh*t luck. Chiyu sneered. As for Chiyu's voice, it sounded particularly ear-piercing in this quiet environment. For a time, Duan Lingtian subconsciously looked at him. However, he wasn't angry. Instead, he faintly smiled. Yes, your luck is alright, but even if you want to run into dog-sh*t luck, I'm afraid you won't be able to do so. Seeing Duan Lingtian refute him, Chiyu's expression sank. At the same time he sneered, Duan Lingtian, you finally stopped hiding like a coward. Since you've come out, have you thought about accepting my challenge? Or perhaps, you don't dare? Do you want to continue being a coward? Chiyu sneered. Challenge? Duan Lingtian was stunned. For a moment he didn't react. At this time, Tang Weian took a step forward and walked in front of Duan Lingtian. She said to Duan Lingtian, he's the inner sect disciple who has challenged you every month for the past 3 months, Chiyu. Chiyu? Duan Lingtian looked at Chiyu again with a look of realization on his face. I was wondering who it was. So it's the dog that Tu Feng sent to bite me. As soon as Duan Lingtian's words left his mouth, the entire place fell into a dead silence. Even Tang Weian, who was standing in front of him, was stunned. She never thought Duan Lingtian would call Chiyu a dog in front of Chiyu. Moreover, he even said that Chiyu was the dog of another inner sect disciple. Tang Weian quickly reacted. She hurriedly looked at Duan Lingtian and asked, Duan Lingtian, do you have a grudge with senior apprentice brother Tu Feng? Although Tu Feng was also an inner sect disciple, he was an inner sect disciple who had stepped into the Divine King realm. In terms of status and strength, he wasn't someone that ordinary Divine Spirit realm inner sect disciples like them could compare with. Although Duan Lingtian's innate talent and comprehension ability were not bad, it was not a good thing for him to offend Tu Feng. Not only was Tu Feng a Divine King stage inner sect disciple, but he was also the eldest disciple of the second elder of the Hidden Fog sect. I don't think it's a conflict, but I don't know what he thinks, Duan Lingtian said with a shrug. Before Tang Weian could reply to Duan Lingtian, Chiyu's voice that was filled with anger and coldness rang in the air. Duan Lingtian, do you want to die? Chapter 3679. Following Chiyu's stern shout, the atmosphere instantly fell into a deathly silence. A thick smell of gunpowder rose up, causing everyone's heart to subconsciously hang in the air. At the same time they stared at the two parties involved, Duan Lingtian and Chiyu. Courting death. After Qiyu shouted fiercely, Duanling Tian glanced at him unhurriedly with a profound gaze. Are you sure you have the ability to do so? Qiyu sneered, his eyes full of sarcasm. Duanling Tian, do you really think that just because you were lucky and reached the 9th step of the celestial stairway and had a better result than me, you can look down on me? The ranking of the celestial stairway has never represented the ranking of strength. That's true. You're just a young man who entered the sect not long ago. It's normal that you don't know this. As he spoke, the corners of Qiyu's mouth curled into a mocking smile. In Qiyu's opinion, this Duanling Tian had spent so much time on the 7th step of the celestial stairway. It was impossible for him to pass the 8th step. Yet he had passed the 8th step so quickly. This meant that the gatekeeper had gone easy on him. If the gatekeeper was an inner sect disciple who had been imprisoned for life, it was normal for him to go easy on him. After all, even if they won, there was no way to reduce their sentence. As for Duanling Tian, he had said that he had been defeated in a single move on the 9th step. Although he had stayed on the 9th step for a long time, it was because he had spent a long time chatting with the gatekeeper. Because of this, even if Duanling Tian's result in this celestial stairway competition surpassed Qiyu's, Qiyu still didn't put him in his eyes. He was just a kid who had been lucky for a while. Lucky? Duanling Tian looked deeply at Qiyu. You can try. I'll try then. Qiyu sneered. Now, do you dare to go to the ultimate martial platform with me? The ultimate martial arena was where the people of the Hidden Fog sect fought. In a duel on the ultimate martial arena, one could admit defeat, and after admitting defeat, the opponent could no longer intentionally take one's life. However, if one did not admit defeat in time, even if one was killed by the opponent, it would be a meaningless death. In the Hidden Fog sect, there was no such thing as a life or death arena. If it was only to compare notes, the Hidden Fog sect's people would go to the martial meeting square, which was right below the extreme martial arena. The ultimate martial platform was an elevated platform located in the sky above the martial arts competition square. Ultimate martial dais? Senior apprentice brother Qiyu actually wants to go up the ultimate martial stage with Duanling Tian? Oh my god. Once you step onto the ultimate martial platform, you'll be like a sword without eyes. If you don't admit defeat in time, even if you're killed, you'll have died in vain. How much hatred do you have? Senior brother Qiyu, do you really intend to have a life and death duel with Duanling Tian? When the surrounding inner sect disciples regained their senses, their faces were basically filled with shock. Some of the people who wished for the world to be in chaos even had their eyes glowing, their faces filled with anticipation. Duanling Tian. At the same time, Tang Weiyan quickly stopped Duanling Tian with a sound transmission. Duanling Tian, don't be impulsive. Once you step onto the ultimate martial platform, if you don't admit defeat in time, even if you die, the sect won't punish you. I know. The Inner Sect Disciples Handbook mentions the ultimate martial platform. Duanling Tian glanced at Tang Weiyan and faintly smiled. When this scene fell into Qiyu's eyes, it made him burn with jealousy. Seeing Duanling Tian suddenly say such words to Tang Weiyan, it wasn't hard for him to guess that Tang Weiyan must have sent a sound transmission to persuade Duanling Tian not to agree to the ultimate martial platform battle. Duanling Tian, genius from Wind City's Hidden Fog Academy, do you dare? Qiyu looked at Duanling Tian with a mocking smile, his tone filled with provocation. Duanling Tian, don't be impulsive. If you don't have the confidence, don't agree. An old voice suddenly sounded in Duanling Tian's ears, greatly surprising him. This was because this sound transmission came from the Hidden Fog sect's inner sect elder who was guarding outside the sky stairway. Elder, rest assured. I, Duanling Tian, won't easily do something I'm not confident in. Duanling Tian replied to the inner sect elder's sound transmission. Then he looked at Qiyu and lightly said, lead the way. Lead the way. This was Duanling Tian's reply. Qiyu was stunned for a moment. Then he sneered and turned to lead the way. The surrounding inner sect disciples also began to boil with excitement. He agreed. He agreed. I really don't understand. Why would Duanling Tian agree? Since senior apprentice brother Qiyu dares to make such a request, he must be confident in defeating him. An intermediate deity dares to accept a challenge from a higher deity? Amidst the uproar of the inner sect disciples, Duanling Tian followed Qiyu's footsteps and headed towards the ultimate martial platform. This fellow, seeing Duanling Tian not listening to his advice, Tang Weiyan couldn't help but frown. But he still followed. He didn't forget to send a sound transmission to Duanling Tian. If there is any danger, admit defeat in time. As long as you admit defeat, Qiyu won't dare to kill you again. At that time, the elder on duty at the ultimate martial platform will also protect you. Duanling Tian was aware of everything Tang Huiyan had said. However, Duanling Tian still sent a sound transmission to Tang Huiyan to express his thanks for his concern. Outside the sky stairway, besides the inner sect elder guarding the sky stairway, everyone else who knew that Duanling Tian had agreed to Qiyu's challenge at the ultimate martial platform followed. The inner sect elder guarding the sky stairway also wanted to follow. But this time he was the one guarding the sky stairway, so he couldn't leave. Where is he? Someone walked out of the sky stairway and was puzzled when he realized that there was no one around except for the inner sect elder on duty. When he learned the ins and outs of the matter from the elder on duty, he immediately rushed to the ultimate martial platform. Senior brother Qiyu is going to fight with that Duanling Tian who just joined the sect on the ultimate martial platform? This is a good show, we can't miss it. One by one, the inner sect disciples who walked out of the sky stairway rushed to the ultimate martial platform after learning that Duanling Tian and Qiyu were going to fight on the ultimate martial platform. As a result, more and more people went to the ultimate martial platform. Elder Peng. The inner sect elder on duty outside the sky stairway finally couldn't hold himself back and sent a sound transmission to an elder who was on good terms with him. If I remember correctly, you've been on duty at the ultimate martial platform recently? Are you there today? The other party quickly responded, yes, what's the matter? In a moment, that Qiyu will fight with Duanling Tian, who was recommended by Vice Sect Master Morong to enter the sect ahead of time. Inform me of the progress at any time. If Duanling Tian is in danger, remind him to admit defeat with a sound transmission. This little fellow is quite polite and his talent and perception are quite good. If he lives, it will only be beneficial to the sect. The inner sect elder outside the sky stairway said. What? Qiyu and Duanling Tian are going to fight on the ultimate martial platform? I see them. Don't worry, I don't want such a genius to die. Elder Peng, who was on duty at the ultimate martial platform, saw a group of people in the distance. He saw that the person leading them was their hidden fog sect's Qiyu. As for Duanling Tian, although he hadn't seen him before, he had heard that he was a handsome young man in purple clothes. He was clearly following behind Qiyu. There were a total of 19 ultimate martial platforms. They were located in the skies above the hidden fog sect's martial meeting square. However, the 19 ultimate martial platforms were usually empty. The most lively place was the hidden fog sect's martial meeting square. There were many hidden fog sect inner sect disciples and outer sect disciples sparring there. The hidden fog sect's martial meeting square and ultimate martial platform didn't belong to the inner sect. Rather, they were shared between the inner and outer sect. And they were located between the inner and outer sections. Why are there so many people? How lively. There were many people in the martial meeting square to begin with. When Duanling Tian, Qiyu, and the group of inner sect disciples who came to join in the fun arrived, they alarmed many people in the martial meeting square. And when they saw the person in the lead, their eyes brightened. Qiyu? He's ranked in the top 10 of the inner sect disciples. Senior apprentice brother Qiyu is going to enter the ultimate martial platform. Who is he going to fight with? That purple-clothed youth behind him, who is he? In the martial meeting square, a group of inner sect disciples and outer sect disciples who were watching the fun flew into the air out of curiosity. And when they saw that there was no one around them, the inner sect disciples and outer sect disciples who were sparring also tacitly stopped and followed. Senior apprentice brother, what's going on? Who is senior apprentice brother Qiyu going to fight with on the ultimate martial platform? Many people asked the inner sect disciples who came from the sky stairway. And when they obtained the answer, they all revealed looks of shock. It's actually that Duanling Tian who just entered the sect? Isn't he a middle deity? A mere middle deity dares to fight with senior apprentice brother Qiyu on the ultimate martial platform? I've heard of him. Although he has comprehended the fusion of 3 profound meanings of the space laws, senior apprentice brother Qiyu has also comprehended the fusion of 3 profound meanings of the wind laws. In addition to senior apprentice brother Qiyu's cultivation being a level higher than his, he will undoubtedly lose. I really don't understand why he would agree to a battle with such a great disparity in strength. Although the group of hidden fog sect disciples couldn't understand why Duanling Tian would agree to such a battle, it didn't affect them from joining in on the fun. Many geniuses die prematurely because of their carelessness. Many people shook their heads as they looked at the purple figure walking towards the ultimate martial platform with pity on their faces. Under the watchful eyes of the crowd, Duan Ling Tian followed Qiyu, who was leading the way, and landed on the ultimate martial platform in the center of the 19 platforms. This ultimate martial platform was also the largest. The surrounding 18 smaller ultimate martial platforms surrounded it like stars surrounding the moon. After Qiyu landed, he turned to look at Duan Ling Tian, who had also landed and was calmly looking at him. Seeing Duan Ling Tian's expression remain so calm at this time, Qiyu's heart couldn't help but skip a beat. If Duan Ling Tian could still pretend to be relaxed when he was outside the sky stairway, then he shouldn't be so relaxed now that he was on the ultimate martial platform. After all, Qiyu was much stronger than him. But now, in the end, Qiyu couldn't help but extend his divine sense and envelop Duan Ling Tian. In the next moment, his pupils suddenly shrank and his heart filled with shock. He actually broke through to the realm of a higher deity? Chapter 3680. Just now, before the stairway to heaven, Qiyu hadn't thought of using his divine sense to probe Duan Ling Tian's depths. This was because he subconsciously felt that even if Duan Ling Tian wanted to make a breakthrough, it would be impossible for him to do so while he was at the hidden fog sect. It wasn't until he arrived at the ultimate martial platform and saw Duan Ling Tian's calm and collected expression that Qiyu couldn't help but use his divine sense to probe Duan Ling Tian. And after he discovered that Duan Ling Tian was a higher deity, his heart was in turmoil. The difference between Duan Ling Tian and Duan Ling Tian's breakthrough was like heaven and earth. He wasn't afraid of Duan Ling Tian before he made a breakthrough. But now that Duan Ling Tian had made a breakthrough, he wasn't confident at all. Although both of them had comprehended the fusion of three profound meanings of a certain law, Duan Ling Tian had comprehended one of the four supreme laws, the law of space. As for him, he had only comprehended one of the more ordinary five elemental laws, the law of wind. Duan Ling Tian, I didn't expect you to have broken through to the realm of a higher deity. Under everyone's watchful eyes, Qiyu looked at Duan Ling Tian with a solemn expression and spoke in a deep voice. Not only did he not lower his voice, but he seemed to have deliberately raised it so that it clearly entered the ears of everyone present, including the two elders on duty at the ultimate martial platform. One of the elders was surnamed Peng. Elder Qin, don't you think you're worrying too much? After hearing Qiyu's words, Elder Peng subconsciously extended his divine sense and shrouded Duan Ling Tian. After confirming Duan Ling Tian's cultivation, he immediately sent a message to the inner sect elder on duty outside the stairway to heaven. What's wrong? Elder Qin, who was on duty outside the stairway to heaven, was naturally dumbfounded when he received the message. Duan Ling Tian is also a higher deity. His chances of winning this battle are higher. Okay. You actually want me to remind him to admit defeat? Are you kidding me? Elder Peng snappily said. What? Duan Ling Tian is a higher deity? Elder Qin, on the other hand, was shocked. But before he entered the stairway to heaven, he was clearly only an intermediate deity. At that time, I even used my divine consciousness to probe him. Could it be that he made a breakthrough when he was fighting someone on the stairway to heaven? That should be the case. He probably made his breakthrough on the seventh step of the celestial stairway. After a period of stalemate, he made a breakthrough at the last moment. Then he successfully cleared the level. Relying on his higher deity cultivation base, he quickly defeated the guardian on the eighth step of the celestial stairway. In fact, the guardian on the eighth step didn't go easy on him. As for the ninth step of the celestial stairway, it's highly likely that he'll encounter an inner sect disciple of the godly king stage. Even if he becomes a higher deity, it'll be difficult for him to be a match for them. It's very normal for him to be defeated in one move. At this moment, Elder Qin understood many things. At the same time, he realized that he had worried for nothing. Duan Ling Tian's current strength was no longer inferior to Qiyu's. He might even be stronger. I don't know about that. Alright, I'll watch these two little fellows fight first, then I'll tell you the result. However, it's highly likely that Qiyu will admit defeat because I can see fear in his eyes. Elder Peng sent a voice transmission and said, showing fear before the battle is a great taboo. While Elder Peng stopped sending messages and stared intently at the two figures on the ultimate martial platform, the crowd was also abuzz with discussion. I really didn't expect Duan Ling Tian to have broken through to become a higher deity. No wonder he dared to accept senior brother Qiyu's challenge. It turns out that he has made a breakthrough. I understand now. Duan Ling Tian made a breakthrough on the seventh step of the celestial stairway. Before the breakthrough, he was in a stalemate with the guardian for a long time. After the breakthrough, he easily defeated the guardian on the eighth step of the celestial stairway and ascended to the ninth step. However, he was eliminated by the godly King Stage Guardian on the 9th step. That must be it. While many inner sect disciples were speculating, Tang Huiyin, who was standing at the side of the crowd, looked at Duan Lingtian with a complicated expression. So, he has already made a breakthrough. What I said earlier actually came true. Previously, Tang Huiyin had told Qiyu that Duan Lingtian might have made a breakthrough on the spot and then ascended to the 9th step of the celestial stairway. Of course, it was not that she had much confidence in Duan Lingtian at that time. She just could not stand Qiyu's attitude. However, she did not expect that what she said would really come true. What? Are you going to admit defeat? Duan Lingtian's expression did not change when Qiyu pointed out his current cultivation. He stared deeply at Qiyu and asked meaningfully. However, as far as I know, the rules of the ultimate martial platform state that once one ascends to the ultimate martial platform, one is not allowed to admit defeat within 10 breaths from the start of the battle. Duan Lingtian revealed the rules of the ultimate martial platform that he had learned from the Inner Sect Disciples Handbook. His originally calm expression changed slightly, and a hint of mockery appeared on his face. Who said I'm going to admit defeat? Sensing the gazes around him, even though Qiyu felt a little guilty, he still maintained a tough front on the surface. Duan Lingtian, even if you're a higher deity, you've only just made a breakthrough to become a higher deity. You might not even have had time to consolidate your cultivation, and you want me, Qiyu, to admit defeat? Ridiculous. As Qiyu's voice fell, gusts of wind raged around his body. The law of wind fused with divine power appeared as though it had turned into a small tornado. Furthermore, the tornado was still growing stronger. Seeing this, Duan Lingtian's expression remained calm. Both of them had comprehended the law of wind, but the middle-aged scholar that he had encountered on the 9th step of the celestial stairway was far more powerful than Qiyu. Qiyu had only comprehended one type of fusion of 3 profundities from the law of wind, but that person had comprehended 2 types of fusion of 3 profundities from the law of wind. Their abilities were not on the same level at all. However, the problem was, even that middle-aged scholar was easily defeated by Duan Lingtian in one move. Now I'll give you a chance. Duan Lingtian looked at Qiyu and said calmly, kneel down and count out 10 times and I'll spare your life. The moment Duan Lingtian said that, everyone was shocked. No one had expected Duan Lingtian to suddenly say such a thing. Moreover, from his tone, it was as though victory was already in his hands. Presumptuous. As expected, Qiyu was enraged. He roared angrily and moved with the wind. It was as though he had turned into a gust of wind as he charged toward Duan Lingtian. At the same time, a crescent blade appeared in Qiyu's hand. As soon as the blade appeared, it was infused with divine power that had merged with the wind elemental attribute. Suddenly, a green light shone brightly. Obviously, the blade in Qiyu's hand was a divine weapon. Of course, it was only a lower-grade divine weapon. However, even though it was a lower-grade divine weapon, once it was in Qiyu's hand, the power that was infused into it was extremely shocking. The green blade radiance swept across the sky as though it could split the sky. Buzz. Accompanied by the sound of the blade, a terrifying blade radiance bloomed in the sky and swept toward Duan Lingtian. However, in the face of Qiyu's sudden attack, Duan Lingtian did not panic. With a whoosh, he disappeared from where he was and reappeared not far behind Qiyu. You're courting death. Although there was not much movement behind him, Qiyu, who was fully alert, turned around in an instant and slashed out with his blade. Another green blade radiance bloomed. Although it was not as strong as the previous blade radiance, it was not to be underestimated. Buzz. The blade radiance that Duan Lingtian had dodged seemed to have grown eyes. It turned around in the air and continued to attack Duan Lingtian. I gave you a chance. Duan Lingtian said indifferently. His eyes were calm and then he took a step forward. A layer of faint armor appeared on the surface of his body. Together with the sudden appearance of the spatial wind leopard, it easily crushed the blade radiance that Qiyu had slashed out. Then, before Qiyu's other blade radiance could catch up, Duan Lingtian raised his hand and waved casually in front of a group of people. The whole movement was as smooth as flowing water. It was as light as the wind. Whoosh! The sound of the sword whistling was short-lived. When the crowd saw that there was a sword in Duan Lingtian's hand, Qiyu's body had already been decapitated. Then, the spatial windstorm that filled the sky was like a meat grinder, instantly mincing Qiyu into a pool of blood. After Qiyu's death, the saber ray that flashed through the air became much weaker. In the end, it landed on the silhouette of armor that flashed on Duan Lingtian's body and completely dissipated. Duan Lingtian was wearing a defensive divine armor. It was one of the dozens of divine weapons given to him by the Zhong family in Tianfeng City. It was a low-grade divine weapon. In terms of value, it was not inferior to an ordinary middle-grade offensive divine weapon. Later, he attacked with a low-grade divine sword given to him by the Zhong family. Whoosh, whoosh. Blood and blood mist scattered all over the ground, leaving behind dazzling and eye-catching marks on the ultimate martial platform. It also caused the surrounding crowd to become silent. No one expected it to end so quickly. From the moment Qiyu attacked to the moment Qiyu died, less than 3 breaths of time had passed. As for Duan Lingtian, from the moment he moved to the moment he attacked, it was at most a single breath of time. See. The 2 inner sect elders on duty at the ultimate martial platform were experienced and knowledgeable. Although they were shocked by the scene in front of them, they were the first to react. However, they still couldn't help but suck in a breath of cold air. When they looked at the purple figure on the platform again, their eyes revealed a bit of shock. Although they also thought that Duan Lingtian was likely to win. However, it did not cross his mind that Duan Lingtian would win so easily. That was Qiyu. Among the hidden fog sect's spirit god realm inner sect disciples, his strength could be ranked in the top 10. He was the hidden fog sect's signboard. But now this signboard was gone. However, they didn't feel sad because this signboard was gone. Instead, they felt excited. This was because Qiyu's death announced the appearance of an even stronger inner sect disciple, Duan Lingtian. This inner sect disciple, who had been recommended by the Tianfeng City's Hidden Fog Academy's dean, who was also their Hidden Fog sect's vice sect master, Murong Suifeng, had become the new signboard of their Hidden Fog Academy. Moreover, this signboard was even stronger than Qiyu's. This, Tang Huiyan stood on the side of the crowd. After a while he came back to his senses. When he came back to his senses, he looked at the purple figure in disbelief. He just broke through to the higher god realm and he's already so strong? Qiyu was killed by a single sword strike. Chapter 3681. The purple-clad young man stood on the ultimate martial platform with a calm expression on his face. It was as if everything in front of him was of no importance to him. He did not rejoice as if he already knew this would be the result. Because of this, he gave off an unfathomable feeling as he stood there. I gave you a chance. The purple-clad young man's words seemed to echo in many people's ears again. It was not until this moment that they realized that in the eyes of the purple-clad young man, Qiyu was like a chicken that could not withstand a single blow. If you were given a chance, you would live. If you did not cherish it, you would die. When will the result of the Stairway to Heaven competition be released? Under the shocked gazes of the crowd, Duan Lingtian looked up at Tang Huiyan and asked. Huh? Tang Huiyan was still in a daze when she heard Duan Lingtian's question. She immediately returned to her senses and told Duan Lingtian the date the result of the Stairway to Heaven competition would be released. Understood. I'll take my leave first. After getting the information he wanted, Duan Lingtian nodded and directly disappeared in front of everyone's eyes. Only a pool of blood was left on the ultimate martial platform. After Duan Lingtian left, the crowd burst into an uproar as expected. Oh my god! Duan Lingtian from the Hidden Mist Academy in Wind City is actually so strong? Did you see how he insta-killed Qiyu? I feel that his sword move seemed simple, but Qiyu was unable to block it. I don't understand. I don't understand. Most people did not understand how Duan Lingtian killed Qiyu. The law of space that Duan Lingtian displayed was only the fusion of 3 profundities. The profundities of the law were not much stronger than the profundities of the law that Qiyu displayed. Is this the difference between the 4 supreme laws and the 5 elemental laws? Some people questioned. However, more people shook their heads and denied it. The 4 supreme laws are stronger than the 5 elemental laws, but not to this extent. Perhaps Duan Lingtian used his bloodline power at the critical moment. Even Tang Huiyan himself didn't understand. Because of this, she couldn't help but send a message to Duan Lingtian. Duan Lingtian, how did you kill Qiyu? The space laws you displayed shouldn't be enough to kill him so easily, right? Duan Lingtian quickly responded, embryonic form of sword principle. Embryonic form of sword Dao. When Tang Huiyan received Duan Lingtian's message, Elder Peng and another inner sect elder who were on duty at the ultimate martial arena today looked at each other before they instinctively exclaimed in a low voice. Of course, only they could hear each other's whispers clearly. The others were very far away from them, and the surroundings were filled with all kinds of discussions, to the extent that their voices were completely drowned out. Compared to revealing the fusion of two profundities from the law of space, revealing the embryonic form of Sword Dao seems to be more low-key. Duan Lingtian had already returned to his residence. After muttering to himself, he took out the 5 creation pills from the pile of gifts that Zhong Tiannu, the patriarch of the Zhong family, had passed to him and swallowed all of them. If Duan Lingtian had 9 creation pills with his talent, he would be able to break through to the God King stage directly. After all, 9 creation pills would allow one to become a God King. In the history of the various planes of gods, there was no lack of people who had just broken through and become a God King after consuming 9 creation pills. However, even without 9 creation pills, 5 creation pills would be enough to allow Duan Lingtian's cultivation base to reach a higher level and bring him closer to the God King stage. He had rushed back precisely because he was desperate to consume the creation pills. Revealing one of the 4 Daos of heaven and earth, the Dao of weapons, Sword Dao, was the decision Duan Lingtian made on the way to the ultimate martial arena with Qiyu. Of course, he didn't completely reveal his attainments in the Sword Dao. He only revealed the embryonic form of Sword Dao. Duan Lingtian, who had just comprehended the Sword Dao, could already operate the Sword Dao as if it were his own arm. It wasn't difficult for him to conceal his attainments in the Sword Dao. The embryonic form of Sword Dao wasn't necessarily related to talent or perception. It could also be related to luck. In the planes of gods, there was no lack of lucky sword cultivators who would accidentally comprehend the embryonic form of Sword Dao due to certain encounters. It was also because of this that revealing the embryonic form of Sword Dao was much more low-key for Duan Lingtian than revealing the second fusion of 3 profundities from the law of space. It also wouldn't attract too much attention. In truth, it was fine if he attracted too much attention, but what he feared the most was attracting jealousy and hatred. It was easy for geniuses to attract jealousy and hatred. He had just arrived at the Hidden Fog sect not long ago. He didn't have a backer and he had no intention of taking anyone as his master. He naturally had to keep a low profile. However, he didn't plan on keeping a low profile. Like today when he killed Qiyu, he didn't hold back at all. And besides the fact that Qiyu wanted to kill him, another reason was that he wanted to use Qiyu's death to establish his prestige. Although Duan Lingtian was a new disciple who had just entered the Hidden Fog sect, he wasn't some soft persimmon. Once I become a core disciple of the Hidden Fog sect, I can obtain the protection of the Hidden Fog sect. At that time, even an ordinary core elder won't dare to move against me. At this time, Duan Lingtian thought of the Hidden Fog sect's second elder, Tu Feng's master. He had to teach Tu Feng a lesson. It was only a matter of time. And as the saying went, after beating the young, the old will come. After teaching Tu Feng a lesson, the Hidden Fog sect's second elder would most likely stand up for Tu Feng. Even if he didn't personally deal with him, he would certainly use some small tricks. An inner sect disciple could be expelled from the Hidden Fog sect with a casual order. But a core disciple was different. The Hidden Fog sect's second elder didn't have the qualifications to decide whether a core disciple should stay or leave. Next, I'll focus on breaking through to the Divine King realm. 5 revival good fortune pills should be enough for me to take a large step forward. If there aren't any accidents, the first place in this heavenly stairway struggle should be me. At that time, there will be another revival good fortune pill. 6 revival good fortune pills will greatly shorten the gap between me and the Divine King realm. Once I become a Divine King, I will have the initial strength to protect myself in this completely unfamiliar profound handle land. After some thoughts flashed through his mind, Duan Lingtian calmed down and wholeheartedly immersed himself in cultivation. And while Duan Lingtian was cultivating, the people around the extreme martial arena began to disperse one after another. As they left, news of today's battle between Duan Lingtian and Qiyu spread out. Moreover, in a short period of time, it shook the entire Hidden Fog sect. Even some high-level figures of the Hidden Fog sect who knew of this were stunned. Qiyu died. That brat Qiyu actually died? I was planning on asking him later if he was interested in becoming my 3rd disciple. Without Qiyu, we gained a Duan Lingtian. Our Hidden Fog sect didn't suffer a loss. As the true high-level figures of the Hidden Fog sect were alarmed, Tu Feng, who was cultivating, was also awakened by a message from his master, the Hidden Fog sect's second elder. Tu Feng, didn't you go to Hidden Fog Academy last time and accept Duan Lingtian as a disciple on my behalf? The Hidden Fog sect's second elder was called Wu Fengyin. He was a middle-aged man who wore a loose green robe. Between his eyebrows was a vertical purple diamond-shaped mark. His face was hard and even though his robe was loose, it couldn't conceal his tall and sturdy figure. Go again and invite that Duanling Tian over. This time I will personally accept him as a disciple. Wu Fengyin said. Hearing this sound transmission, Tu Feng, who had just woken up from his cultivation, was stunned. Master, didn't you say last time that since he doesn't know what's good for him, you wouldn't accept him as a disciple? Is that so? Wu Fengyin lightly replied, even if that was the case, it was only a joke. Go and invite him over. He isn't even 3,000 years old and yet he can instantly kill Qiyu. If he becomes my disciple, his future achievements will be something that even I, Wu Fengyin, will have to look up to. If I, Wu Fengyin, can have such a disciple, my status in the Hidden Fog sect will have a chance to rise even further. When Wu Fengyin sent another message, his tone was much more urgent. What? Hearing Wu Fengyin's words, Tu Feng was scared silly. Duanling Tian instantly killed Qiyu? Master, are you sure you're not mistaken? The Qiyu you speak of, is he the one who ranks in the top 10 of the Divine Spirit Realm Inner Sect disciples? The one who ranked in the top 3 of the Divine Spirit Realm Inner Sect disciples in the last Celestial Stairway struggle? Tu Feng couldn't help but ask. This was because he found it hard to believe that the one Duanling Tian killed was the Qiyu he knew. Besides him, who else could it be? Wu Fengyin lightly said, I know what you're thinking, that Duanling Tian, when he first came to the sect, was indeed only a middle Divine Spirit Realm. He wasn't Qiyu's match. But, when he was on the 7th step of the Celestial Stairway, under the pressure of the Gatekeeper, he smoothly broke through to the higher Divine Spirit Realm. Then he passed through the 8th step and ascended to the 9th before he was eliminated. If there are no accidents, he should be the first among the Divine Spirit Realm Inner Sect disciples in this Celestial Stairway struggle. In addition, not only did he comprehend the fusion of the 3 profound meanings of the space law, but he also touched upon the embryonic form of the sword Dao. Moreover, he smoothly displayed it and killed Qiyu with a single sword strike. Although the embryonic form of the sword Dao might be due to luck, if he has the confidence he might be able to grasp the sword Dao. The sword Dao, that is the sword Dao, one of the 4 Daos of heaven and earth. Even I, Wu Fengyin, have lived for tens of thousands of years and have yet to touch the surface of any of the 4 Daos of heaven and earth. I'll definitely accept this disciple. Alright, you can go now. Wu Fengyin's tone left no room for doubt. Yes, master. Tu Feng's eyes flashed coldly, but he didn't dare to lose his temper in front of Wu Fengyin. After he agreed, he was so angry that he smashed the bed under him. Damn it. How can that Duanling Tian have such strength? Embryonic form of the sword Dao? What kind of dogshit luck did he have? Tu Feng knew that once Duanling Tian became his master's disciple, even if he was only his junior brother, his position in his master's eyes would be far higher than his. He was destined to be trampled under Duanling Tian's feet, even if Duanling Tian's cultivation base was lower than his. Chapter 3682. Did Tu Feng want to go and invite Duanling Tian? Of course not. He even had the thought of going to Duanling Tian and directly telling his honored master that Duanling Tian refused to come. But in the end he didn't have the courage. His honored master was the same as him, a god king. But he was only a lower god king while his honored master was a higher god king, a peak existence amongst the higher god kings of the Hidden Fog sect. His honored master could kill an ordinary higher god king like a dog, let alone a small lower god king like him. He understood his honored master's temper better than anyone else. He hated disobedient people the most. Thus he didn't dare to disobey. Even if he felt aggrieved, he still went to look for Duanling Tian. However, when he went to look for Duanling Tian, he discovered that Duanling Tian was in seclusion. Duanling Tian was cultivating in seclusion. He had already activated the sect's array disk and arranged an isolation array around his residence, making it so that his voice and sound transmissions couldn't enter. When Tu Feng arrived, there were already many people gathered around Duanling Tian's residence. And the purpose of these people was basically the same as Tu Feng. They were here on the orders of their honored masters and elders to invite Duanling Tian over. Their honored masters and elders wanted to accept Duanling Tian as a disciple. Tu Feng, I remember when you were at Wind City's Hidden Fog Academy, you were rejected by Duanling Tian. Why are you here again? A young man saw Tu Feng and couldn't help but tease him. He was also a disciple of one of the Hidden Fog sect's upper echelons. He was also a lower god king inner sect disciple. He didn't fear Tu Feng, so he dared to joke with him. Xia Xiaofeng, mind your own business. Tu Feng was originally a little aggrieved and irritated. Facing the young man's ridicule, he immediately glared back. The latter laughed, the mocking smile on his face becoming even wider. Tu Feng. At the same time, another young man looked at Tu Feng and smiled. I think you should go back. As far as I know, when junior brother Duan fought with Chiyu, he openly said that Chiyu was your dog. Obviously he knows that Chiyu was sent by you to cause trouble for him. He hates you too much right now. Do you think it's possible for him to go back with you and become your junior brother? Exactly. Tu Feng, I think you should just leave. After offending junior brother Duan like that, junior brother Duan will never consider joining the second elder's faction again. The group of people present were basically all God King Realm inner sect disciples. They didn't fear Tu Feng at all. Moreover, the elders and masters behind them all had a status in the hidden fog sect that was no lower than the second elder behind Tu Feng. Hearing this, Tu Feng's face changed dramatically. He had only just learned about this matter. Chiyu, that idiot. Before he died, he even revealed that he was the one who asked him to find trouble with the Duan Lingtian. Now, Tu Feng could almost foresee what his honorable master would do to him once he learned of this matter. For a time he felt his entire body turn cold and he couldn't help but shiver. However, in the end Tu Feng still left. But, he realized that he would soon be summoned by his honorable master. He might even be severely punished. And just as Tu Feng thought, not long after he returned, his honorable master, the hidden fog sect's second elder Wu Fengyin, sent him a message asking him to come over. Tu Feng, was Chiyu sent by you to cause trouble for the Duan Lingtian? In the backyard, Wu Fengyin had his back to Tu Feng. He stood with his hands crossed behind his back as he looked at a rock garden not too far away from him. But almost as soon as Wu Fengyin's voice fell, Tu Feng fell to his knees. Honorable Master, this disciple is not convinced that he refused to become your disciple. He refused to become your disciple. Honorable Master, your status is so high. For you to accept him as your disciple is a blessing that he cultivated for 8 lifetimes. But he refused. Honorable Master, this disciple feels wronged for you. Tu Feng knelt on the ground, his voice becoming a little hoarse as he spoke. So, it's Master's fault? Wu Fengyin turned around and looked at Tu Feng indifferently, a faint smile appearing at the corners of his mouth. This disciple doesn't dare. Tu Feng knelt even lower. It's all this disciple's fault. This disciple didn't have foresight and offended him. That's enough. Get up. Wu Fengyin waved his hand, his tone becoming much gentler. Thank you, Honorable Master. Tu Feng was already prepared to be punished, but he never imagined that the result would be like this. With his understanding of his Honorable Master, since his Honorable Master acted like this, he definitely wouldn't punish him. After Tu Feng stood up, Wu Fengyin glanced at him. As far as the current situation is concerned, it is impossible for that Duan Lingtian to become my disciple. Right? Tu Feng thought that everything was fine, but when he heard Wu Fengyin's question, his heart tightened. Even so, he nodded. Yes, Honorable Master. At this moment, Tu Feng's heart was extremely nervous. It wasn't until he heard Wu Fengyin's next words that he secretly breathed a sigh of relief. Since it's impossible for him to become my disciple, and he's already your enemy, find an opportunity to get rid of him. Wu Fengyin said indifferently, for a genius like this, it's fine to kill him in the cradle. If he grows up, killing you will be as easy as killing a dog. And as your master, I can't just watch you get killed and do nothing. And once I help you, he will regard me as an enemy. It's not a good thing for me either. Before he becomes a divine king, find an opportunity to kill him to prevent future troubles. After listening to Wu Fengyin's words, Tu Feng's eyes lit up and he respectfully replied, Yes, Honorable Master. Originally he thought he might still be punished. But he didn't expect that he would receive such words from his Honorable Master. His Honorable Master's current order was something he had always dreamed of. Do you think you can handle this matter well? If you're not sure, I can find someone to help you. Wu Fengyin asked again. Honorable Master, I can handle a boy who hasn't even stepped into the Divine King realm. Tu Feng shook his head. He knew very well that if he said he couldn't do it well, his Honorable Master would look down on him while finding someone to help him. After all, he was still a lower Divine King. Wouldn't it be easy for him to kill a higher Divine King? That's good. Wu Fengyin nodded and said, You may leave. Yes, Honorable Master. Tu Feng respectfully replied and withdrew. In his mind, he had already begun to plan how to deal with Duan Lingtian. Duan Lingtian must have gone into seclusion after the Stairway to Heaven contest to prepare for the core disciple assessment. However, he definitely won't be able to pass the core disciple assessment. Even Elder Shui Haichuan from 10,000 years ago barely passed the core disciple assessment when he comprehended two types of fusion profundities of the law of death at the higher divine king realm and his bloodline power. As for Duan Ling Tian, he has only comprehended one type of fusion profundities of the space laws. As for the elementary sword Dao, it is far inferior to the increase in power brought to him by the fusion of three types of profundities. As for the power of bloodline, I'm not sure if he has it, but even if he does, it isn't enough to make up for the disparity. Thinking of this, Tu Feng calmed down. Before the core disciple assessment, it will be difficult to find a chance to make a move. Then, after the core disciple assessment is over, I'll think of a way to lure him away from the sect. Within the Hidden Fog sect, Tu Feng naturally didn't dare to move against Duan Ling Tian. This was because within the Hidden Fog sect, besides the stairway to heaven space, every other place was monitored by the sect's array formation and could be seen through a mirror image. If he openly killed someone within the Hidden Fog sect, even if no one else saw it, it would still be exposed through the array formation's mirror image. Thus, it was impossible for Tu Feng to act within the Hidden Fog sect. Because even if he succeeded, he would be executed by the sect. He could only trick Duan Ling Tian into leaving. Duan Ling Tian came out of seclusion half a month later. The medicinal efficacy of the 5 revival good fortune pills is truly astonishing. Moreover, the speed at which I absorbed the medicinal efficacy is also astonishing. In just half a day, I was able to perfectly absorb all the medicinal efficacy, allowing me to take a large step forward. Moreover, it has formed a kind of inertia in my body, causing my normal cultivation speed to become extremely exaggerated. It was only now that it has slowed down. The current me is not far from breaking through the threshold of the Divine King realm. I feel like I don't even need to take 4 revival good fortune pills. Just 2 or 3 revival good fortune pills and I can attempt to break through to the Divine King realm. This was the result of Duan Lingtian's cultivation in the past half a month. Moreover, during this process he discovered a problem. The reason why his cultivation was able to form a inertia with the help of so many revival good fortune pills was related to the 99 heavenly veins in his body. Although the natives of the realms of gods had more than 90 heavenly veins since they were the descendants of the supreme powerhouses, they were still able to form the bloodline of the supreme powerhouses. During battles, the advantage he had over the speed at which he could utilize his divine energy was not as obvious. However, he was still able to increase his speed. For example, the reason he was able to kill Chiyu with a single strike was partly because he could utilize his divine energy faster than Chiyu. However, he did not expect the 99 heavenly veins in his body would give him such a pleasant surprise after consuming 5 revival good fortune pills. It has been half a month. The rankings for the Heavenly Stairway contest should be out by now. If there are no surprises, I'll definitely rank first. I'll be rewarded with a revival good fortune pill. After tasting the benefits of the revival good fortune pill, Duan Ling Tian was eager to obtain even if it was just a revival good fortune pill. With that thought in mind, Duan Ling Tian deactivated the formation. As soon as he deactivated the formation, he heard voices coming from outside his residence. It seemed like there were many people chatting outside. I wonder when Duan Ling Tian will come out. My master told me to wait here. I can't go back until he comes out. The voice was filled with resentment. That's about the same. However, which guardian, supreme elder, or core elder do you think Duan Ling Tian will choose to become his disciple in the end? I'm not sure. However, since he rejected the second elder, I don't think he'll be interested in a core elder like the second elder. It's normal for a genius to be picky. Chapter 3683. Hearing the sounds coming from outside, Duan Ling Tian was a bit stunned. Listening to the conversations of those people outside, he had a rough idea of their intentions. At the same time, he realized that they had been waiting outside for half a month to invite him to see their honorable masters. Their honorable masters wanted to receive him as a disciple. Should I have removed the array formation? Just as Duan Ling Tian had this thought, there was a sudden cry of alarm from outside. Duan Ling Tian removed the array formation. He's coming out. It's true. Duan Ling Tian, I am the second disciple of the Hidden Fog sect's highest elder Huang Pingyi, Su-He. My honorable master, highest elder Huang Pingyi, wishes to invite you to his cultivation place as a guest. Duan Ling Tian, I am the eldest disciple of the Hidden Fog sect's protector Lu Gangxian Lin Chongyu. My honorable master, Protector Lu Gangxian, wishes to invite you to his residence as a guest. As soon as the people outside discovered that Duan Lingtian had removed the array formation, there was an uproar. Highest Elder? Protector? Duan Lingtian was shocked. It had to be known that in the Hidden Fog sect, there weren't many Highest Elders. Moreover, the status of a Highest Elder was above that of the 19 core Elders, including the Second Elder. In addition, the Hidden Fog sect's 19 Protectors had a status above the Second Elder and the other core Elders. They were equal to the Vice Sect Master. Among the highest Protectors, there were several whose status in the Hidden Fog sect faintly surpassed that of the Sect Master. They were also the strongest people in the Hidden Fog sect. And now, several people casually stood out and said they were disciples of the highest Elders and Protectors. Moreover, the highest Elders and Protectors were inviting him to be a guest? Although Duan Lingtian knew the purpose of this invitation, he was still surprised. He thought he was low-key enough, but he never imagined that the tip of the iceberg he revealed would attract the attention of so many high-level figures of the Hidden Fog sect. They actually sent disciples to invite him, intending to accept him as a disciple. In the end, Duan Lingtian did not open the array disc again. Instead, he walked out of the room and appeared in front of the group of people outside. He's out. Duan Lingtian, I am the son of Grand Elder Wu He Wu Qiong. My father wishes to take you as his disciple. Are you willing to go? My father said that if you are willing to become his disciple, he will definitely not treat you unfairly. Your treatment will not be worse than mine. Duan Lingtian, I am He Chai, the second disciple of Grand Elder Lu Hugui. My master also wants to accept you as a disciple. My master has prepared 3 cultivation pills for you as a meeting gift. Duan Lingtian, I am the 4th disciple of Protector Zhao Bai Ouyang Quan. My master said that if you are willing to become his disciple, he will get you 9 revival pills within a year and help you become a divine king. Outside the door there were young men, middle-aged men and several young women. At the start they only sent out invitations to Duan Lingtian, inviting him to be a guest. But as some people stated their intentions, others couldn't sit still any longer. Each and every one of them was increasing the price tag. There were even some people who said that they would help Duan Lingtian gather 9 revival pills within half a year. This caused Duan Lingtian to be moved, but it was only moved. Everyone. Finally, it was Duan Lingtian who spoke up, interrupting everyone's chatter. I, Duan Lingtian, entered the Hidden Fog sect and have no intention of becoming a disciple of any elder or protector. So, I'm afraid I will have to disappoint all the elders and protectors here. I entered the Hidden Fog sect in order to enter the Great Dragon sect. Duan Lingtian directly rejected everyone present. So, I'm afraid I will have to let everyone down for waiting here. I apologize. After saying this, Duan Lingtian cupped his hands towards everyone. For a time many people sighed and left. There were also some people who stayed where they were, wanting to continue negotiating with Duan Lingtian. But they were destined to return disappointed. Finally, with a small number of unwilling people following him, Duan Lingtian went to the inner sect's internal affairs hall. He looked at the ranking of the last Stairway to Heaven competition he participated in. Without any surprise, he was the number 1 disciple of the Divine Spirit Realm in the Stairway to Heaven competition. In fact, before this result came out, anyone who paid attention to the Stairway to Heaven competition would know that he was the number 1 disciple of the Divine Spirit Realm. After all, it had been a long time since a Divine Spirit Realm inner sect disciple had reached the 9th step. It's Duan Lingtian. He is Duan Lingtian? The number 1 disciple of the Divine Spirit Realm in the Stairway to Heaven competition? That's him. It is said that he is not even 3,000 years old. He was recommended to enter the sect by Wind City's Hidden Fog Academy's dean and our Hidden Fog sect's vice sect leader, Murong Suifeng. It's rare to see such a strong backdoor entrant. Vice sect leader Murong either doesn't use his privileges or uses them to recruit talents for the sect. He is really good to the sect. Isn't that right? Besides the Grand Elders and the sect leader, the person I admire the most is Vice Sect Leader Murong. When Duan Lingtian arrived at the Internal Affairs Palace, some of the inner sect disciples in the Internal Affairs Palace recognized him. Instantly the surroundings became lively. Listening to the whispers of the inner sect disciples, Duan Lingtian could tell that Wind City's Hidden Fog Academy's Dean Murong had a good reputation in the sect. Everyone, can you tell me where I can receive the reward for the Stairway to Heaven competition? Duan Lingtian smiled as he looked at the crowd. When they heard his question, they immediately gave him directions. This allowed Duan Lingtian to receive the reward for the first place in the Stairway to Heaven competition in a short period of time. A revival pill. Then Duan Lingtian prepared to return. But at this time someone called out to him. Duan Lingtian. The one who called out to Duan Lingtian was a chubby inner sect disciple. His fat face that almost completely covered his eyes was particularly eye-catching. You will participate in the core disciple assessment soon. Are you confident? You should know that in the history of our hidden fog sect, it was only 10,000 years ago that a divine spirit realm inner sect disciple passed the core disciple assessment. And in the past 100 years, let alone a divine spirit realm inner sect disciple, there hasn't even been a divine king realm inner sect disciple who passed the core disciple assessment. As the chubby man spoke, curious gazes fell on Duan Lingtian. It was clear that they wanted to see how Duan Lingtian would respond. Duan Lingtian turned around and looked at the chubby man. He faintly smiled and said, I will do my best and strive to become the first person in 10,000 years to do so. As his voice fell, he didn't wait for the chubby man and the others to respond and left the Internal Affairs Hall. For a time the Internal Affairs Hall was in an uproar. Listening to Duan Lingtian's words, it seems that he is confident? This is really exciting. If he really passes the core disciple assessment, he will become the first divine spirit realm core disciple in our hidden fog sect in 10,000 years. I can't wait for the core disciple assessment to arrive. News of what happened in the Internal Affairs Hall quickly spread. Before long, more than half of the hidden fog sect knew that Duan Lingtian was confident in the upcoming core disciple assessment. He's actually that confident? When Tang Huiyin received the news, she happened to be with her granduncle Tang Chun. When Tang Chun heard her muttering, he couldn't help but ask, "What's wrong?" When he heard what happened from Tang Huiyin, he couldn't help but laugh. That kid might really be able to pass the core disciple assessment. Granduncle, you're that confident in him? Tang Huiyin was surprised. The strength he has shown so far isn't enough for him to pass the core disciple assessment, right? Unless he's hiding his strength. Granduncle, do you know that he's hiding his strength? Tang Huiyin asked. Tang Chun shook his head. Although he was the one who brought Duan Lingtian back, he didn't know whether Duan Lingtian had shown his full strength or not. However, this didn't affect his confidence in Duan Lingtian. Then why are you so confident in him? Tang Huiyin asked. Maybe it's his personal charisma. If someone else said what he said, I would think they were arrogant, but when he said it, I think it's confidence. Tang Chun smiled and looked at Tang Huiyin ambiguously. Huiyin, I heard that you went to see Duan Lingtian when he participated in the stairway competition last time? Did you go there specifically for him? Tang Chun's gaze made Tang Huiyin speechless for a while. Granduncle, I didn't go there for him. I originally planned to participate in the Stairway to Heaven myself, but he suddenly wanted to go to the ultimate martial platform with Chiyu, so I followed him. After their battle ended, I returned to the Stairway to Heaven and entered it. Although Tang Huiyin was explaining with a straight face, Tang Chun was looking at her even more dubiously. I know. It's normal for girls to be shy. Tang Huiyin stopped talking after hearing that. She was speechless. However, after hearing Tang Chun's words, she couldn't help but recall that purple figure in her mind, lingering for a long time. Since when did I care so much about a man? Moreover, it's a man who already has a wife and children. Tang Huiyin tried her best to get rid of the purple figure in her mind, but the more she tried, the clearer the figure became. When his face appeared, she found her heart throbbing for a moment. What nonsense! Tu Feng's face was full of disdain when he heard what Duan Lingtian said in the Internal Affairs Hall. Who does he think he is? How dare he say he's going to be the first disciple in the realm of gods to pass the core disciple assessment in 10,000 years? Even if the core disciple assessment for the divine spirit realm is easier than the core disciple assessment for the divine king realm, it's still not something a divine spirit can pass. He wants to be the second Shui Haichuan? He's overestimating himself. Tu Feng didn't think the young man who was on his must-kill list could pass the core disciple assessment for the divine spirit realm. He had participated in the assessment before, so he knew how difficult it was. Chapter 3684. The Azura Hell was only one of the 7 deadliest places in the Devata realms. And now, somewhere in the Azura Hell, a figure was sitting cross-legged in the void, cultivating. Countless amounts of condensed spiritual energy of heaven and earth entered his body, causing the aura in his body to gradually become stronger. All of a sudden, the blue-robed young man who had his eyes closed opened his eyes. It was as though a torch was burning in his eyes. "I'm just one step away from becoming a medium god king," the blue-clad young man muttered to himself. "However, I've been studying soul attacks lately. With my current attainments in soul attacks, my mastery of the law of destruction, and the destruction sword Dao, should I encounter Mi Xian, the patriarch of the Spectre clan, again I'll be able to protect myself. I might even be able to injure him. However, it'll be difficult to kill him." After muttering to himself, the blue-robed young man shook his head again. "I wonder how little Tian is doing now?" When the blue-clad young man mentioned little Tian, a hint of gentleness could be seen in his eyes. "I hope he's safe and sound. If anything happens to him, I'll definitely annihilate the Spectre clan. Even if the Spectre clan has nothing to do with Mi Xian now." As soon as the blue-clad young man finished speaking, his eyes flashed coldly. The blue-clad young man was none other than Feng Qingyang, who had fled to the Azura Hell, one of the 7 deadliest places in the Devata realms. With his cultivation base as a primitive god king, his attainments in the law of destruction, and his mastery of the destruction sword Dao, he was not afraid of ordinary medium god kings. In fact, he was confident he could defeat and kill them. However, the medium god king from the Spectre clan was different. The medium god king from the Spectre clan was a soul, and he was skilled in soul attacks. Even Feng Qingyang was not confident he could defeat Mi Xian, the medium god king from the Spectre clan. For a medium god king who was skilled in soul attacks, his soul attack might have arrived as soon as Feng Qingyang made his move. For this reason, Feng Qingyang had decided to hide in the Azura Hell to avoid being hunted down by Mi Xian and to improve his strength. Although the Azura Hell was a terrifying place, it was like his backyard to him. "As long as I become a middle divine king, no matter how skilled that Mi Xian is in soul attacks, he won't be able to destroy my soul in one hit. But I'm strong enough to destroy his soul." Thinking of this, Feng Qingyang closed his eyes again and continued to cultivate. He was unaware that his disciple, Duan Tian, was no longer in the Devata realm. Instead, he had gone to the profound gangland through the realm battlefield. In fact, before Duan Tian left, he could have gone to the Azura Hell to inform his master, Feng Qingyang, that he was going to the Plains of Gods. The reason why he didn't come was because he was afraid that his master, Feng Qingyang, would be worried. His master, Feng Qingyang, was not as easy to fool as his family. He, who had obtained the inheritance of a supreme expert, knew more and understood more. Although the undead world was one of the 7 deadliest places in the Devata realms like the Azura Hell, it was not as terrifying as the Azura Hell. Many powerful celestial emperors would venture into the undead world. In the undead world, there were many living souls that could be captured and refined into emperor-grade celestial weapons to be used as the weapon's soul. It was also for this reason that the netherworld had become a place that many powerful immortal emperors frequently visited. The Dead Soul clan was one of the stronger clans in the undead world. Not only were there godly beings in the Dead Soul clan, but there were also more than one god king in the clan. However, unlike the prosperous Dead Soul clan in the past, the current Dead Soul clan was filled with misery. "Mi Xian, you'll die a horrible death. How dare you harm your own clansmen? You'll die a horrible death one day." An elderly soul was forcefully grabbed by a young man, who then opened his mouth and swallowed it in one gulp. "Old man, even if I die a horrible death one day, you won't be able to see it." The young man who swallowed the old soul was none other than Mi Xian, the former patriarch of the Dead Soul clan. Ever since Feng Qingyang came to the undead world and told the Dead Soul clan about Mi Xian's actions, Mi Xian was banished from the Dead Soul clan. Not only was he no longer the patriarch of the Dead Soul clan, but he was also no longer allowed to stay in the Dead Soul clan. It was also at that time that Mi Xian's attitude changed. After possessing the body of Tang Sanpao, the young master of the Tidal Temple, and his body was destroyed by Duan Tian in the 9 Serenities battlefield, Mi Xian's soul managed to escape. After that, he recuperated outside for a long time until his soul had fully recovered. After that, he returned to the Dead Soul clan and began to kill and devour his former clansmen to improve his cultivation base. It did not take long before Mi Xian successfully became a prominent celestial king after devouring a few older powerhouses of the Dead Soul clan. "It's time for me to leave." After muttering to himself, Mi Xian's figure flickered and vanished. At the same time, a terrifying ripple of energy swept over the place where Mi Xian had been. Soon after, several elderly souls appeared. Their bodies were trembling, and it was clear that their emotions were greatly affected. That bastard Mi Xian escaped again. After breaking through to prominent celestial king, The ancient formation left behind by our ancestors can't do anything to him anymore. Our clansmen can't hide in the clan forever, said one of the elderly souls. His voice was filled with anger, but it was also filled with helplessness. A great disaster had once befallen the Dead Soul clan. A deranged clansman had possessed a human body and returned to wantonly devouring his clansmen. That time the Dead Soul clan had almost been wiped out. It was also because of that lesson that the ancestor of the dead spirit race hired a formation master from the outside world to set up a shocking killing formation that could kill high god kings and dead spirit clansmen who possessed the bodies of other life forms. It was a precaution against future troubles. However, no one had expected that the clansman who betrayed the Dead Soul clan would be their former patriarch. There's nothing we can do. If he was just an ordinary clansman it would have been fine, but the problem is that he was once the patriarch. He knew how to activate the ancient formation and was extremely familiar with it. He knew where the flaws of the ancient formation were, which was why he was able to succeed time and time again. Another elderly soul said helplessly. Who would have thought that the former patriarch would end up like this? Who was the one who allowed him to pass when he was in charge of the patriarch examination? If he hadn't become the patriarch back then, he wouldn't have been so familiar with the ancient formation and put our Dead Soul clan in a completely passive state. Now is not the time to shift the blame. Who could have thought of this back then? Elder Michai, I remember that you were the one who strongly approved of Mishien becoming the patriarch back then, right? The crisis that the Dead Soul clan faced made it seem like they had sunk into a quagmire shrouded in the aura of death. Although the clan had forbidden entry, there were still people who couldn't help but leave, and in the end they never returned. At the same time, the cultivation of Mi Xian, who had taken over another body, continued to rise. He was getting closer and closer to the Divine Emperor realm. It's about time I leave for a while and lie low. I remember that old fellow in the clan knows a Divine Emperor expert, and that Divine Emperor seems to owe him a favor. Perhaps he will use this favor to kill me for the sake of the Dead Soul clan. After devouring another clansman of the past, Mi Xian left the netherworld. Almost at the same time, an extremely powerful aura burst forth from the depths of the netherworld. As a group of souls prostrated themselves before it, it headed in the direction of the Dead Soul clan. Farewell, venerable ancestor. Farewell, venerable ancestor. A group of souls prostrating on the ground or in the void respectfully sent off the owner of the powerful aura. And this person, or rather this powerful Divine Emperor-level soul, had been invited out of seclusion by an ancestor of the Dead Soul clan. However, because Mi Xian had stopped while he was ahead, he had come to nothing. The Dead Soul clan was still in danger, but this Divine Emperor expert couldn't stay near the Dead Soul clan forever, so he left after a few days. A few months later, Mi Xian reappeared near the Dead Soul clan and hunted down his former clansmen. At the same time, he also heard that the Divine Emperor expert had come not long ago. While he was shocked, he broke out in a cold sweat. How dangerous! But since I, Mi Xian, have escaped this calamity, I'm destined to soar into the sky in the future. That old fellow dares to meddle in other people's business. When I, Mi Xian, become a Divine Emperor, I'll definitely come to his door and slaughter all his clansmen. We're both lower-level Divine Emperors, so even if I've just become a Divine Emperor, he won't be able to kill me. After the shock, Mi Xian's eyes shone with cold killing intent. In the following period of time, Mi Xian stayed in the netherworld for a while and then left for a while. And that Divine Emperor expert couldn't be bothered to come back after a few trips. Because every time he missed. Moreover, Mi Xian's rise seemed unstoppable. He didn't want to meddle in the affairs of the Dead Soul clan anymore. Otherwise, when Mi Xian stepped into the Divine Emperor realm, he might not fear him, but none of his clansmen would be Mi Xian's match. For a time, the Dead Soul clan fell into despair. Whether it was Feng Qingyang or Duan Lingtian, neither of them knew that Mi Xian was about to become a Divine Emperor. Feng Qingyang was in the Azura Hell, trying to break through to the Middle God King realm. As for Duan Lingtian, he was in a Divine Emperor-level sect in the Tunglung province of the Plains of Gods, the Hidden Fog sect. He cultivated while waiting for the core disciple assessment to arrive. Time flew by. In the blink of an eye, the day of the Hidden Fog sect's core disciple assessment arrived. And at this time, Duan Lingtian finally walked out of his residence. In the last several months, in addition to digesting the Revival Good Fortune pill from the first place Heavenly Stairway struggle, Duan Lingtian's cultivation was getting closer and closer to the God King realm. He wasn't far from breaking through the bottleneck. Chapter 3685. The Hidden Fog Sect's Core Disciple Examination was divided into the God Spirit Realm Core Disciple Examination and the God King Realm Core Disciple Examination. The difficulty of the latter was naturally higher than the former. But, in terms of difficulty, the latter wasn't as difficult as the former. If a God Spirit Realm Core Disciple can't break through to the God King Realm by 50 years of age, they will be removed from the inner sect. At that time they can become outer sect deacons. They can stay in the sect or help out in the sect's businesses outside. When a God King Realm inner sect disciple reaches 10,000 years of age, no matter what their cultivation is, they will become famous among the inner sect disciples. Once they step into the middle God King Realm or above, they can become inner sect deacons. Lower God Kings can only become outer sect elders. Duan Lingtian had been in the Hidden Fog sect for some time now. He had a good understanding of the positions within the Hidden Fog sect. In the Hidden Fog sect's outer sect disciples had the lowest status. Above them were outer sect deacons and then outer sect elders. In the Hidden Fog sect's inner sect disciples had the lowest status. Above them were inner sect deacons, inner sect elders, core elders, protectors, vice sect master, highest elder and sect master. Outer sect deacons were generally at least higher God spirits. Outer sect elders were at least lower God kings. Inner sect deacons were at least middle God kings. Inner sect elders were at least upper God kings. Of course, there was a great difference in strength between people of the same cultivation boundary. For instance, the Hidden Fog sect's core elders might be upper God kings like the other inner sect elders, but their strength far surpassed the inner sect elders. If the disparity was so great, they could instantly kill the inner sect elders. Of course, there was no lack of God Emperor powerhouses amongst the core elders and highest elders. Even the protectors were basically divine emperors. As for core disciples, even if they were only God spirits, their status in the Hidden Fog sect was equal to that of upper God King Realm inner sect elders. They could enjoy the same treatment as inner sect elders. From this, one could see how highly core disciples were valued in the Hidden Fog sect. And the Hidden Fog sect never had more than 100 core disciples. From this, one could see how strict the tests were. It was also because of this that the core disciples of the Hidden Fog sect symbolized the backbone of the Hidden Fog sect. If a core disciple grew up, they would at least become a core elder in the future. After becoming a core disciple of the Hidden Fog sect, I won't have to worry about anyone in the Hidden Fog sect finding trouble with me. After all, in the Hidden Fog sect, a core disciple status is equal to an inner sect elder. They are on equal footing with an inner sect elder. Duan Lingtian was on his way to the training hall, where the core disciple assessment was held. His mind was filled with a myriad of thoughts. He was thinking about the path he would take after becoming a core disciple. He had never forgotten why he risked his life to come to the mystic Handle land in the Plains of Gods. His purpose was to increase his strength. 300 years later, he would go to the world of divine remains and bring back his wife, Ker, so that they could reunite. Behind Duan Lingtian, there were quite a number of inner sect disciples. Among these inner sect disciples, a small number of them had also obtained the qualifications to participate in the core disciple assessment, but they all knew that they had no chance. Most of them were just going through the process and gaining experience. This was especially true for those divine spirit realm inner sect disciples. They knew that it was impossible for them to pass the core disciple assessment and become a core disciple. Although I don't have the chance to become a core disciple, to be able to participate in the core disciple assessment and see Duan Lingtian's performance, it's worth it. A divine spirit realm inner sect disciple said with a smile. Immediately, many inner sect disciples around him looked at him with envy. Although I obtained the opportunity to participate in the core disciple assessment, I am only a lower God King. I will be participating in the God King level core disciple assessment and it won't be the same as the divine spirit level core disciple assessment. Thus, I won't have the chance to see Duan Lingtian's performance. A God King level inner sect disciple sighed. In the past several months, Duan Lingtian's name could be said to have spread throughout the entire Hidden Fog sect. Besides the active core disciples, he had become the most famous disciple of the Hidden Fog sect. Duan Lingtian hadn't been in the Hidden Fog sect for long. During his first time participating in the Celestial Stairway struggle, he had taken first place in the Divine Spirit level struggle. In addition, he had fought with Qiyu, who was ranked in the top 10 of the Divine Spirit level inner sect disciples. In front of a crowd, he had easily killed Qiyu. Since then, his name had spread far and wide. It could be said that Duan Lingtian had become a legend in the hearts of many Hidden Fog sect disciples. The matter of him participating in the core disciple assessment had been known to everyone in the Hidden Fog sect for a long time. But at the time they had only heard of him and didn't know of his methods. Thus they didn't pay much attention to him. But after he took first place in the Divine Spirit level struggle and easily killed the inner sect disciple Chiyu, his participation in the core disciple assessment had received an unprecedented amount of attention. Everyone in the Hidden Fog sect was paying attention to him. Among them there were also some core disciples. In the skies above the trial hall, a huge stone tablet stood in the air, and a young man in a black robe stood on top of the stone tablet. His face was cold, his eyebrows were like swords and his eyes were like stars. He stood with his hands behind his back, and he was currently looking in the direction of the trial hall. "Sure, Tongming, you also came to join in the fun?" Suddenly a voice sounded from afar. In the blink of an eye, a ghost-like figure had already appeared behind the black-robed young man who was standing on the blanket with his hands behind his back. This was a blue-robed young man. He carried a sheathed sword on his back and his eyebrows were sharp. He looked at the young man standing atop the stone tablet with surprise in his eyes. "Lin Jin, aren't you also here?" The black-robed young man glanced at the blue-robed young man and lightly said, "Ah, I had nothing to do so I came to join in the fun." The blue-robed young man laughed and said, "You came because you are like me. You must be curious as to whether or not that Duanling Tian can pass the Divine Spirit level core disciple assessment, right? Although I don't think it's possible for him to pass, I still have some expectations. After all, he is an existence that has comprehended the elementary form of Sword Dao." As the blue-robed young man spoke of the elementary form of Sword Dao, his eyes blazed with an incomparable heat. "No." The blue-robed young man shook his head. "My honorable master told me to come. If he passes the core disciple assessment, I am to bring him to see my honorable master. My honorable master will accept him as a disciple." "Highest elder?" The blue-robed young man was shocked. He knew that this person's honorable master was one of the strongest highest elders of the Hidden Fog sect. Even if the sect master saw him, he would have to respectfully bow to him. Such an existence was actually interested in Duanling Tian? Moreover, he wanted to accept Duanling Tian as a disciple? Now, if an inner sect disciple that had been in the Hidden Fog sect for many years were here, they would definitely be able to recognize that these two youths standing in the air above the trial hall were the two core disciples of the Hidden Fog sect. Currently, the Hidden Fog sect had a total of 62 core disciples. For these two to become core disciples, their talent, perception, and strength could be imagined. This was the first time Duanling Tian had come to the Hidden Fog sect's trial hall. The trial hall's doors were wide and the entire hall seemed simple and grand. After walking in, what greeted his eyes was a wide field, as if it were a completely different world. And at this time, a loud and clear voice echoed out from the trial hall. "Besides the inner sect disciples that have the qualifications to participate in the core disciple assessment, everyone else is to leave the trial hall. Otherwise, you will have to bear the consequences." As soon as the voice left his mouth, the group of inner sect disciples who followed Duanling Tian and immediately turned around and left the trial palace. "Why are they chasing us away? I've never heard of the trial hall having such rules before. Maybe it's because there are too many people following us. If it weren't for Duanling Tian, I wouldn't have bothered to go in." As the group of inner sect disciples walked out of the trial hall, they didn't forget to complain. But no matter how much they complained, they didn't dare to challenge the authority of the person who spoke within the trial hall. Even if it was an inner sect deacon of the trial hall, as long as his methods were reasonable, he still had the authority to kill these inner sect disciples. As the group of people left the trial hall, the number of people in the trial hall's wide field became much fewer. Besides Duanling Tian, there were around 100 people present. Because the field was so large, these 100 people were scattered in all directions, making them seem very sparse. Divine King Realm inner sect disciples enter. As the loud voice sounded out once more in front of Duanling Tian and the others, at the end of the wide field, a space crack appeared out of thin air. Then it transformed into an open door. Behind the door was pitch black, nothing could be seen. Seeing this, Duanling Tian wasn't surprised. Before he came, he already knew that the core disciple assessment was conducted in an independent world opened up by the Hidden Fog sect's trial hall's hall master or vice hall master. And in truth that was their inner small world. Normally speaking, the Divine Spirit level core disciple assessment is conducted in the vice hall master's inner small world. As for the God King level core disciple assessment, it is conducted in the hall master's inner small world. Normally, the Trial Hall Vice Hall Master opens his inner small world first and the Divine Spirit Realm Inner Sect disciples enter first. This time, the Divine King Realm Inner Sect disciples are actually the ones who enter first? That's not right. The aura coming from this door is similar to Elder Tang Chun's God Force aura. It is the aura of a High God King. This is the Trial Hall Vice Hall Master's inner small world? The Trial Hall Vice Hall Master is a protector of the Hidden Fog Sect. And, the 19 protectors of the Hidden Fog Sect are all Divine Emperor powerhouses. Could it be that the God King level core disciple assessment is being conducted in the Vice Hall Master's inner small world? Instead, the Divine Spirit level core disciple assessment is being conducted in the Vice Hall Master's body? If that's the case, then why are they doing this? Currently, Duan Lingtian didn't know that it was because of his appearance that the Trial Hall Vice Hall Master had changed his mind. He was originally in charge of the God King level core disciple assessment, but now he was in charge of the Divine Spirit level core disciple assessment. You're tuning in to the Han Li's Wuxia Adventures YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.